Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rolling Forward podcast. I'm here with Danny Meyer today, and before we start, I do have a question for you.
Let's hear it.
You built something completely unique at the bridge, Cincinnati, connecting people in Cincinnati to adaptive sports and recreation. What pushed you to make that leap?
Holy cow, that's a loaded question. We're just gonna
Yeah,
get after it.
let's go.
On the simplest form, I'm a physical therapist at Cincinnati Children's. So, I see patients. I primarily treat in outpatient neuro rehab. So I'm seeing brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, those sort of diagnoses. And you know, when I was growing up and I was playing sports, I love everything about sports. It's pretty easy for me to pick up a glove and learn how to toss a baseball or pick up a $5 basketball from a Walmart bin and just go shoot and figure out how to play basketball, right?
Yeah,
But for someone with a disability, I realized pretty quickly those opportunities aren't the same, right?
yeah,
And it's like, man, like when I'm working with this kid or whoever, and I see the potential so far beyond what happens in the clinic, it's like we got to find something for you to do. This can't end
yeah,
here. And
yeah,
so many people end up with you know, physical therapy is their only form of exercise.
yeah.
And, parents come in and they're like, we just come here because, this is the only way we get to work out. And I'm
Oh,
like, that shouldn't be
interesting.
the case, right?
Right. Yeah.
What barriers are there and how can we address them so that you can get out and do things,
Right.
right? Yeah. So that's the short answer of it. There's,
Yeah.
long-winded
Yeah.
lots of things that went into getting me to the point where I am today. But yeah.
That's awesome. And we will get into that and so much more. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Everybody else, welcome to the Rolling Forward podcast, a podcast of people who keep rolling forward no matter what life throws at them. Real people, real stories, powered by purpose, resilience, and a drive that never ends. I'm Zach Sikora. Spina bifida didn't stop me. It just gave me a better excuse to sit down while I take you over the world. Uh, Today's funny shirt is it's Rolling Forward podcast logo. It's the logo is obviously it's a superhero in a wheelchair, and I think other than Professor X, there's not very many superheroes in wheelchairs, and there's some sort of comedic reality to a superhero in a wheelchair. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know, so that's why I picked it. Anyway, you can grab one of these shirts at rollingforward.printful.me. And if you have an idea for a shirt that I should put on the store, let me know in the comments. It might make it into the shop. Now, let's roll into today's episode. Again, thank you, Danny, for coming on the show.
Of course, man.
If you also being in this world, if you have any good shirt ideas, let me know. I think one of my favorites that I just put out there is you know what I can't stand, and then it's you know what I can't stand, and then it says punctuation matters.
That's incredible. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm all about it. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, can you share like how we know each other
Yeah.
and all that? And by the way, I just wanted to preface this. Danny and I go fairly far back. Since he started the bridge and all that, and I'm so excited to get his perspective on disability. He started this nonprofit and like talking about how that all went down and where he's at now and what he plans for the future. So yeah, go ahead and give us a 10,000-foot overview.
Yeah. Well, where do you want? Do you want me to talk about how we got connected or?
Let's go ahead and do how we got connected
Okay.
first.
Okay. So first thing I remember was there was we were I was working with May We Help, if you're familiar with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
nonprofit. That's another nonprofit organization in here, and they help create one-off solutions or whatnot for people with disabilities to access something new. It's really cool organization, but random plug, right?
Yeah.
But I was like their adaptive sports sort of consult, and I think someone came
Cool.
to them and said, "Hey, we need help with gripping a tennis racket," and it
Mm,
was one of your athletes, Elliot, and
yeah.
so. I came out to practice a couple different times and then I sat in a chair and I started playing a little bit and I was like, all right, this is pretty sweet. Like
Yeah.
yeah. So from there on out, it was like anybody that I saw that could potentially swing a racket that was in a chair, you're heading to Zach to
Yeah,
hang out, right?
right. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Bridge has been super supportive to Cincinnati, donating tennis wheelchairs. that for like beginning players.
Mhm.
We do events all the time together. The list is endless, but yeah, it's a really cool connection, and I think it's so cool that I don't know. I don't know about you, but I think Cincinnati has one of the best adaptive programs in the U.S., maybe even in the world. Like we've got so much talent,
For sure.
and we've got so much support from the community and volunteers. And you, Jake, Jake's been on the podcast
Yeah.
before as
Yeah.
well. Mozzie's coming out soon, or no, Mozzie's going to be released soon. He's already been on, but
Excellent.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So let me ask you, give us a 10,000-foot overview of who you are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like
Uh,
just kind of surface level. I've got some things as well, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, so me as a person, I'm fairly spontaneous to the point where I can start a nonprofit and flip
yeah,
my life upside down.
yeah,
But I love everything about sports. My big things that I love to do are snowboarding and mountain biking. So those that are my kind of activities that keep me going. But more than that, I'm a Christian and I just want to help people.
mm,
Like I've been called to do this, and I know that sounds weird to probably some people, but for me, it is the reality. Because when we get into it about how I got into this, you're gonna be like, "What the heck? Like, what?
yeah,
How did this even fall into your wheelhouse?" No pun intended. And
right,
yeah, and how did this happen? And no, it's just like it's one of those things that like I knew this is what I was supposed to be doing. So,
yeah,
um, I've got two little girls at home and a beautiful wife, and we're here to serve Cincinnati. I think I could have taken this anywhere,
yeah, yeah,
especially for me, being an adventure sports guy. Could have been
yeah,
out west, but I'm a Cincinnati native, and so sticking here was part of the plan.
yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows, I'm disabled. You are not.
Right.
You're able bodied.
Right.
And so I think that just adds to the intrigue of the story. Like you're an able-bodied person, and you just you're running one of the best adaptive sports programs in the U.S. It's
Man,
like,
that's awesome.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love it.
So to talk to me. So you're a physical therapist. You're a
Mhm.
doctor of physical therapy.
Yeah, Dr. Dan.
That's awesome, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But I just wanted to throw that out as well. So, but and you're also co-founder of Be Well.
Mhm.
It's B dot well
Yep.
is what that is. And again, we'll get into all that. But yeah, I'm so excited to have you on. If you weren't here doing this podcast, where would you be
Right now,
right now?
I'd probably be doing the dishes, honestly.
Yeah,
My house is I have a 5-year-old and a 3 or a 4-year-old, and so my house is a disaster.
yeah,
So if I'm not doing that, I'm doing yeah.
yeah,
Most of the time though, my weekends are filled with events, man.
yeah.
It's been
Right.
awesome. The past 2 weekends I haven't had to do anything, which
Yeah,
has been the
yeah.
first time in a long time. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's interesting because like my August and September are just packed with things. Every single weekend in September, I've got things
Oh
going
yeah.
on.
Yep.
Speaking of, we do have our Tri Day next weekend.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
oh, well,
It's
I
gonna
guess
be
this
awesome.
upcoming weekend. So, can you talk about what that is a little bit? And
The four-way track
yeah,
day?
yeah,
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 so, uh, one thing that I saw was so I do a lot of these triad events where
yeah.
I'm connecting with a
That's a little close.
community partner like you guys with Cincinnati Tennis
Yeah.
Foundation,
Sorry.
the sled hockey with the icebreakers. We were all doing these individual things,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Man, if I could just package this up and have it be like where you can try all of these things,
Yeah.
then we're gonna score a lot more people."
Heck yeah.
Because, I felt like we would get 3 or 4 coming out to your event or
Mhm.
3 or 4 coming out to basketball, but when we promote it like crazy,
Yeah.
it's maybe someone just wants to try tennis, but then they have to get in a basketball chair, and then that's how they get hooked on something else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is our 3rd year doing it, and I
Yeah.
think historically, we've had 20 to 30 athletes come out,
Yeah.
sit in chairs,
That's
and
so
actually
cool.
play, which
Right.
is, in the disability world, there's not a whole lot of people out in the community in
Yeah.
chairs when you think about the grand scheme of things. And
Yeah.
to see that many people out doing something for the first time is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it really is. And so just for everybody, it's tennis, pickleball, wheelchair basketball, and sled hockey.
Yep.
I would say tennis, basketball, and sled hockey are like the three main sports of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Would you agree with
Yeah, I
that?
would say so.
Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's a really cool event. There's a lot of new players. We all promote from all of our different organizations. It was kind of cool because I was at the SOAR Expo, and Renee was there with the sled hockey, and Jake was there, and I was like, hey guys. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we did like this event all at the same time?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it started. And obviously the bridge took the reins and like coordinated all the volunteers and food and just everything. So it was awesome. So okay, let me ask you one more kind of fun, lighthearted question. If you could be any cartoon character or any fictional character, we'll expand that for a
Mm.
day. Who would you be and why?
Mm. I would say Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Aang, yeah, that'd be
That's
fun.
favorite show of all time by
Mhm.
far. To have
Yeah.
all that power,
Yeah.
but yeah, that dude's the man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like it. Yeah, I've never gotten Aang before, never really even considered him, but yeah, he's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the theme question. What keeps you rolling forward?
Uh, I think it is this community.
Mm,
The disability community is such a cool, tight knit, welcoming community. It's unlike any other group that I've, worked with or been a part of, to
yeah.
where I'm an able-bodied dude and you're still like, yeah, dude, keep helping us. Let's keep doing
Yeah.
this thing together, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's like I have a little bit of imposter syndrome where it's like, what am I doing? Like as
Right.
as an able-bodied dude running this stuff. And but I think at the end of the day, when I can see the transformation for someone when they get outside the walls of the hospital and their eyes sort of open up, like,
Yeah.
wait a second, like,
Yeah.
maybe I had this injury or maybe I didn't know that any of this stuff existed. And now the world opened up to me. Like that is what is like, all right, I know that I got to keep moving forward when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you an internal or externally motivated person, would you say?
I would say a little bit of both.
Sure.
A lot of it is internal. Just thinking about what my career aspirations are and all that stuff. But I
Yeah.
think externally, you gotta get some sort of feedback from other people
Of
that keep
course.
you motivated. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So definitely both.
Yeah, it's I think I'm more externally motivated, but it's interesting, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. Is like w- getting into coaching and stuff like that. It's like everyone's like find your purpose, right? And it's
Yeah,
like that's an empty statement when you don't know what that is,
right.
right?
Without
So
a doubt.
yeah. What's one tool or skill you use to help keep you rolling forward?
Mm. One tool or skill that helps me moving forward. Honestly, my love for people
Yeah,
and just being a people person and,
yeah,
and wanting to connect with people. One of the things that I always talk to when I have students, I teach a few classes up at University of Cincinnati in their health science department. And I'm always telling those students, like, my goal with every person I meet, every person I encounter is to find one thing in common with them.
that's
Because as
awesome.
soon as you do that, the connection's there.
Yeah,
You drop all the curtains and you can just be yourself. It's amazing what happens when you're just like, and it doesn't matter what it is. Like
yeah.
I'll find something that I know that you like and I can have some sort of
Mhm.
appreciation for it. And
Yeah,
that the rest is history. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love doing that. Are you more extroverted then? It sounds like.
I am until I don't want to be,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
I mean, trust me, I love staying at home and just playing video games and doing absolutely nothing.
yeah,
But some of that's come with, having a family and having
yeah,
kids. It's kind of like, all right,
yeah,
I need to chill out and
yeah, yeah.
be away from people. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's one of the most meaningful pieces of feedback you've ever received?
Mm, that is another good question. I would say one thing that I feel like I struggle with quite a bit is just my confidence
Mm.
in who I am, and it's always been a source of anxiety for me as I'm always trying to perform and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And when I was in high school, I went to Elder High School, Cincinnati native, and
Mhm.
we would go on these retreats every single year for called Kairos, and it was like a retreat to some seminary area, something like a reserve, like a some far off place that where you can just get away
Yeah.
and you have all your buddies there and you're just talking about life and stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's always these speakers that come up, which are usually teachers. There's some students that have done Kairos before. And one of my teachers was my art teacher, my CAD digital design teacher, which was
Here, you can
uh
pull that closer too
yeah,
if you want.
which was such a cool class. But he played a song. You're supposed to play a song before your speech and after your speech, and kind of
Okay.
go into what each one of those means.
Yeah.
And
You play a song?
he so that whoever speaks
Okay.
goes up and plays the song like a recorded song. It's not like you're actually physically playing
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Sorry.
I thought you were
Yeah.
like performing in front
No,
of
no,
people.
yeah.
I was like, Danny, I didn't know.
I mean, I do play music. I
Oh,
play, yeah.
okay. Cool.
um, but he played a song by the Cold War Kids called "Audience of One." It's not one of their popular songs, but what he was saying with that song, and it's not Christian in any sense of the word, like it's not at all. But he took that spin on it and said, "I I have to think like I'm playing for an audience of one, with God being my person that I'm playing for. Because if I
Oh,
don't, and I'm bringing in all the noise of everyone else, it's going to distract me from what I'm moving forward towards, right? And so
interesting.
when I think and I'm starting to struggle with things or starting to feel like I'm being pulled in different directions or I'm feeling judged or anything like that, it's like that's not what I'm playing for.
Mm,
I've got this higher calling that I'm looking towards, and I'm playing for that audience of one to again keep me moving forward.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
Can you send me that song
Yeah.
whenever we're done with
Yeah,
this?
definitely.
I'd love to listen to it.
Yep.
It sounds awesome. Okay, so one of the things that I've been thinking about of rolling forward. So I'd say in the last decade, I'm a completely different person
Mhm.
since from 10 years ago to now. And one of the things I think a lot of society fears is failure.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about failure that I've learned over time is like, hey, listen, like if you're not failing, you're not pushing yourself hard enough.
Right.
And so I wanted to just get your perspective on failure and like I'm sure you failed multiple times with the bridge and stuff like that. So you can kind of take that wherever you want,
Yeah.
whatever is on your mind.
Yeah, honestly, that's, where my anxiety stems from is that fear of failure. And
Yeah.
so like that's been a struggle since the beginning, since I played high school basketball. If I miss a layup, I'm shut down. Like
Yeah.
it shuts me down, and it hasn't started to turn around until I got out of my 20s, when I
Mhm.
was sort of past that point of like I'm new to the industry, I'm
Yeah.
new to life and everything. And when I got into my 30s, I was kind of like, what am I wasting all my energy on? And
Yeah.
trust me, I still have those fears constantly, but
Yeah.
it seems to be a little bit less and less every single day. And I
Yeah.
think it's because the vision is starting to become clearer of like
Yeah.
when you're moving forward towards something, that fear of failure is like, yeah, it's part of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's the Ben Rector song, life's not the mountaintops, it's the walking in between. And that's
Yeah.
it. That's when you experience things, that's when you grow. To me, I use this analogy all the time. There's a as a nerd and as a science guy, the there's a term called the Wolf's Law in your
Okay.
body, and it's specific to your bones, but really it applies to any system in your body, and
Yeah.
it's that your body adapts and adds more bone to the places that are stressed most. So, right, when we get older and we stop moving, our bones become brittle, right? Among other physiological things that are happening. But really, the things that are strongest are things that are being pushed and pressed. And
Yeah.
so, if you can take that into your life and say, hey, where do I have the most fear? Where do I have the most anxiety about things? It's probably because you're not pressing into that. You're not building
Mm.
up some of the calluses to be able to endure some of those
Yeah.
things, you know?
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I try and keep in the back of my mind is like, this is only gonna make me better
Yeah.
if I can push into this a little
Yeah.
bit more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's interesting. First comment. I've never known you as someone who lacks confidence, and to hear you say that is like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Um, go ahead. What are you?
No, I think it's crazy because that's what everyone says. Like when
Yeah.
I talk about like, yeah, I'm on Zoloft, like, yeah, I like,
Yeah.
but internally, I'm very good at outwardly showing
Yeah.
confidence, and
Yeah.
I love that about myself because it allows me to sort of say, all right, we're going to fake it till we make it.
Yeah.
But internally, I'm on fire.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to perform. I got to do all this stuff. And that's, before we got on here, you were like, are you nervous about being in front of a mic? And I was like, honestly, not anymore.
Yeah.
Honestly, I like being in front of the mic because I want to share this stuff with people.
Right.
I want to
Right.
tell people what I've experienced
Yeah.
because I think that's how we find value
Of
and
course.
how we learn from other people is when they finally share their stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's fascinating. So, um, going back to failure, I think in my 20s, I was very failure adverse. Like, I didn't want to commit to things
Mhm.
because, like, I might back out last minute or whatever else. So, like, I don't know. And I've talked about this on the podcast before, but, I think one of the biggest things with failure that I learned about myself was I heard somebody say, "Tell the truth or at least don't lie," right? And, they expanded on this and said, "Hey, like, it's one thing to lie to other people," which I try not to do, of course,
Sure.
but lying to myself about different things. Like, "All right, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna commit to this," and then it's like, "Oh, it won't bother anybody else. It doesn't really matter."
Right.
So I don't know. I think that's a fascinating concept. But anything else to add or
No, I think that's pretty accurate
yeah,
because like we can lie to ourselves all the time. We
yeah,
can tell ourselves that, it's okay. And sure, it's fine if you fail and you're like, this wasn't for me. But when it
mhm,
is based out of fear more than anything, then again, it's probably something you might want to push into a little bit more.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
do the
exactly.
opposite.
I like that. Okay, so let's get into the bridge
Yeah.
and everything about that. So go ahead and I kind of in the intro explained the bridge a little bit,
Mhm.
but can you just go into a little bit more depth as far as like what the bridge is and
Yeah. So, like, you already talked about how we have such a cool network in Cincinnati, and I run this program at Children's. I co-lead it with called Be Well that we mentioned before, and was doing a lot of work in connecting people to the adaptive sports scene through the hospital. But one thing that I recognized and realized pretty early on was that, in my career was that there's just a lack of cohesion across the city. We have so many cool resources, but to find those resources, say if you're new to a diagnosis or you're just moved here or something like that,
yeah,
like it probably took you a while to get into where you were with tennis,
it
right? To
did.
find like your thing. And I mean, we're so far ahead of where we were than when you started playing tennis, I'm
Yeah,
sure. But
yeah,
that's the reality for people. And when you're dealing with a new diagnosis, you're dealing with a new injury, your first priority is just survival,
yeah,
right? You're just
yeah,
trying to figure out, I got to get to all these appointments, I got to do all these things, I got to figure out how to live.
right.
And to me, if I can give you that reason
Uh-huh.
to live, then all
Uh-huh.
those other things will fall into place.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not adaptive sports. Maybe it's connecting you to this, music group. Something that just keeps you motivated, excited about life because
Yeah.
then when you're going through rehab and you're like, I got to learn how to transfer into this chair so I can just get up and sit at home for the day,
Right.
right? Like what
Right.
motivation is that? But if you need to transfer to your chair so that you can go to tennis practice,
Right.
and play
Right.
and be around a community,
Yeah.
then that's going to motivate you that much more. So that, that's another reason why we started the bridge. Back to what the bridge actually is,
Yeah.
right? So it's about bringing those resources together. So
Yeah.
when COVID hit, the rest of the world stopped, including myself and outpatient care,
Yeah.
right? We couldn't do anything. It probably was a month or two before I actually got back in the office and started treating again.
Yeah.
And a group of us got together with like Jake, Counts, and some other physical therapists, medical care providers, community advocates, Paralympians. Everyone in the city was just kind of like, all right, what can we do better?
Yeah.
And so as we started that discussion, it kind of thinned out who was a part of that discussion. And
Yeah.
it got to like our core group of people. And we said, well, let's just do it. Let's just start a nonprofit and
Mhm.
let's work on 3 different things. One, let's work on connecting people to the sports. So that's through our events that we do with like our Try It days. And that's really what it started as, was let's just do Try It days and not run any of our own programming.
Yeah.
That quickly turned into, okay, there's some things that people aren't doing in the city,
Right.
right? Like I don't ever, if anybody comes to me and says, will you help me play tennis? I'm like, go to Zach.
Yeah.
I don't need to do that, right? I
Yeah.
don't need to, you guys are already doing that so well. But some things like hand cycling or kayaking aren't necessarily here. And we
Yeah.
were like, okay, well, there's a void that we probably should step up and fill. So we
Right.
do a lot of that programming. The next big piece is looking at the equipment,
Yeah.
right? You already mentioned it before, like us kind of loaning out equipment to you guys.
Mhm.
One of the biggest barriers across the board for individuals with disabilities to be able to play is access to that equipment.
Yeah.
When your chair costs $5,000 and it's
Mhm.
never going to be covered by insurance, then
Yeah.
you're it's going to be so hard to find it unless someone else gives you that to try it out, because
Right.
you're not going to go out and just buy it,
Right.
on a whim to say maybe I'll like this.
Yeah.
And so what we started to do was build up this equipment loan program where we build up as much equipment, find it all across the country, really.
Yeah.
The first big dump of equipment in those old tennis chairs that work great. They're solid steel that
Yeah.
you're using, but they're definitely old. They came up from Blaze Sports down in Atlanta. The guys, I met them down at a conference and I was like, hey, we don't have a whole lot of equipment. Where do you think we should start? And they're like, we have a warehouse full of old equipment. Do you want it?
Yeah.
So they shipped it all up here. They brought it all up in a U-Haul. And so that's kind of what got us started. And since then it's grown and grown to where, we probably have over 80 or 90 pieces of
Yeah.
adaptive sports equipment that we can loan out, which is wild.
Yeah. That's awesome.
The thing that we started in 2021
Yeah.
and all that
Right.
stuff, it's pretty wild. So those are the two things. That the last thing and probably the most important thing, and we could talk about this all day, is
Real
yeah.
quick before you get into that,
Yeah.
I just want to put this into perspective for people. So if you work out or if you do tennis or any other sport in an everyday chair, the analogy that I like to give is it's like it's like as an able-bodied putting on brick shoes and doing tennis with brick shoes or stilettos or
Right.
whatever else. Like it's doable,
Yeah.
but it just makes it so much harder.
Mhm.
And so you're absolutely right. The adaptive sports equipment, it is one of the biggest barriers that you have with wheelchair sports and all that. So you were going to bring up one other point.
Yeah. And we'll probably talk a ton about this, but the
Yeah.
third pillar that we kind of focus on is the community, is
Yeah.
building that community,
I love
right?
that,
Where, I've people that listen to this know me, have heard this story 6 million times. They're probably like, well, you shut up already. But
Yeah.
my favorite story and picture to ever tell about one of our bridge events was there's a picture of us, and I'll share it with you if you want to plug it on there and the video at all.
Yeah.
Is 5 or 6 chair users all sitting around at our adaptive mountain bike event a couple years ago. And I walked up and I felt left out because they were all talking about what type of catheter that they use, and I didn't have any say in that conversation,
Yeah.
right? So, but my point being is, like, they finally had a space where you don't have to explain that to anybody, right?
Right.
You can talk about it and feel comfortable doing it,
Right.
And so, they said, get out of here, you AB, you able body, like, this is our space and time. I'm like, you're right,
Yeah.
like, and that sort of thing is invaluable
Yeah.
when it comes to understanding your disability. Like me as a physical therapist, I tell my patients all the time, I hopefully will never know what it's like to have a disability,
Yeah.
but until you get around other people that do, you won't either. You're
100%.
going to be stuck in your bubble, and Zach could come up and tell you like, why do you transfer like that? Like, why
Yeah.
do you do this?
Yeah.
Why aren't you getting in and out of your car on your own?
Yeah.
Because you can definitely do it.
Right.
And your therapist or your parents telling you to do those things is a whole different story. But when your peers are talking to you about these things, and it just makes a world of difference.
Yeah, 100%. And I love showing people how to do that stuff, right?
Hmm.
Like one of my favorite stories to share with that is like Elliot was he was a new injury, and he's like, well, my my tennis chair doesn't have brakes and I need help to transfer, or else it'll just roll away. And so I told him, I was like, well, what if you put your tennis chair up against the fence, put your everyday chair in front of your tennis chair to block it from rolling forward, and then you transfer that way. And he did, and it was just like it was a game changer for him,
Yeah.
because that's just another piece of independence. And that's the other cool thing about like just the adaptive sports is like it breeds so much independence. Like we're doing so much more than just wheelchair sports,
Right.
right? As you said about the catheter story, it's like it's connecting people to be able to be more potentially more independent, or just like, hey, like something the first example I don't want to necessarily share because it's kind of gross, but like you have disabled problems, let's say,
Hmm.
and you can talk to somebody about that, and like somebody can tell you, oh, oh, okay, here's a great example, and I've never talked about this on the podcast. So um for UTIs, because of catheterization,
Hmm.
D-mannose is a simple sugar, and it's a pill that everybody that you can take, and it gets rid of most UTIs. I don't know. Have you ever heard of that before?
No, honestly, no. Yeah.
It's a game changer. I've
Hmm.
told it to a whole bunch of my disabled friends, and instead of antibiotics, which screws up your gut health
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of other things, you can take D-mannose when you first start to think you're having UTI, and that typically flushes it out.
That's
It's
awesome.
not all inclusive. It doesn't
Sure.
always do it, but it is something that has helped me avoid UTIs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, okay. So going back to the bridge, what sparked the journey? Let's
Mhm.
get into that.
Yeah.
So, sounds like an interesting story.
Yeah. So it probably goes back to undergrad when
Yeah.
I was studying in health science at University of Cincinnati. We had a guest professor, a guest speaker, maybe my senior year,
Hmm.
and he was a physical therapist that went to London in the Paralympics and was one of the PTs for the track and field team for
Oh,
Team
cool.
USA.
Okay.
And I was like, this is sweet. Like I had no experience in adaptive sports at that point, but it was one of those things that just kind of lodged in my brain and was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I could think about doing something like that.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of had I've affinity to the kind of different, not normal way of doing things, right? I'm
Yeah.
always trying to like, I like creativeness, I like innovation, all that stuff. And
Mhm.
so, um, as I was going through PT school, I quickly realized, like, do I even want to be a PT? Like,
Mm.
I was like, all of these clinical rotations, yeah, they're fine. Yeah, I'm helping people, but I want to do more. I want to do something different. And so, what happened was I was doing research at Cincinnati Children's with my supervisor at the time, who's now my colleague and co-lead of that Be Well program. She had just started the Be Well program,
Who,
and
who is this?
her name's Jen and Jelly.
Okay.
So she's a really good friend.
I actually don't
PT,
think I've met her.
you
Maybe at the Store
probably
Expo or
have.
something like that.
You probably
I'm sure I've.
Nikki talks to her all the
Okay.
time in
Okay.
terms of the linking up the Be Well stuff.
Okay.
So you've probably
Oh,
met her.
she's more connected with Be Well. Got it. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I
exactly.
know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Um, but I was like, hey, if I go get some money from like my uncle or something like that, can I take kids adaptive skiing? Because I was a big snowboarder and I just
Yeah.
wanted to try it. So
Yeah.
she's like, sure. So I did that, and that was really what got me hooked. Was like, okay, this is sweet. I want to see
Interesting.
all of my patients be able to get out here and snowboard with me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it just kind of had this cascade as I met people like you and met people like Jake and Mimi, one of our good friends, another
Yeah.
physical therapist that, able-bodied but just passionate about. That's what's cool about all this stuff is like, how
Yeah.
did we all come together,
Right.
And uh but that is really what the catalyst for me to get into the adaptive sports scene was, just taking kids out adaptive skiing at one point.
That's awesome.
And then from there, I was like, I got to make this part of my career
Mm.
somehow. I got to figure out how to weave this into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And as we went through years of things, so I graduated from University of Cincinnati in 2017 with my doctorate. So started at Children's directly after that, and was on a volunteer basis, just helping to continue to push the Be Well program forward
Yeah.
and kind of run the adaptive sports side of things. So again, with all those try it days, one-off experiences, linking up with other community partners to do things.
Oh,
The issue with being part of there's a lot of benefits to being part of a big hospital, right? You've got the name, the brand recognition, you've got
yeah.
the support there, you've always got job security when you're doing some things like this, but the issues that come along with it sometimes are tough when
Yeah.
you're dealing with such a unique niche sort of population. So
Right.
like what I realized was there were certain things that I couldn't do. Like I couldn't get equipment for people. I couldn't pay for people to just go do something. It had to be all contracted out and all this stuff, which is great. You need to have when you have a big organization like that, you got to have everything buttoned up or you're going
Yeah.
to get derailed pretty quickly. But I didn't want to deal with all the red tape.
Right.
I
Right.
wanted to be able to just say yes and keep doing things. And so out of that is where, again, when we started meeting when COVID hit, that I was like, wait, we could take this wherever we want. We
Yeah.
could do whatever we want with this. And that's kind of been part of the motto of the bridge, is just say yes for
Yeah.
right now
Cool.
until we figure out truly what our identity is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't want to name the company, but I work in the financial industry, right? And that's one of the things that I thought I was gonna absolutely hate, and maybe it does get in the way a little bit, but like the bureaucracy of everything. There's so many regulations and all that. It's like I just want to help, I just
Yeah.
want to do things,
Right.
and so yeah, I can imagine doing something with children's, maybe being a little bit more difficult and all that. So, okay. So the original question was like, what sparked your journey
Yeah.
into the bridge? So it sounded like you almost had like a faith awakening as well,
Mhm.
or like something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably a combination of 100 things that came together. But
Yeah,
one of the things that has always motivated me is a book called The Alchemist. Have you ever read that book?
I have not.
No,
I've heard of it. I feel
it's a short, easy read. It's
Okay.
not complicated at all. It's written by Paulo Coelho, and it's been translated to hundreds of different languages. I
Yeah.
believe he's Brazilian, maybe. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
regardless, it's a really simple book, but it's kind of grounded in faith. The whole premise of the story is that this boy is pursuing his dream, and his dream is that he needs to go to the pyramids to find this treasure.
Uh,
And so, one of the main points of that is in the book. I believe the quote is, "If you truly want something, the whole world conspires to help you achieve it."
yeah.
And so, again, with how this bridge idea sort of happened, I don't have a specific point where it was like, this is it. It's just sort of evolved that, like, this is what I want. This is what I
Yeah.
want to do. I want to work for a place like the bridge,
Yeah.
and I want to see this happen in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And so that's been in the back of my mind too, is the alchemy of it all
Yeah.
is, if you truly want something, everyone around you is going to come together and help you move forward with
Right.
it. And
Right.
it's been true for almost any aspect of my life. If
Yeah.
it's something that's good,
Yeah.
right? Then people will get behind it and help you get there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's so fascinating, and like you do have I don't know, I guess a big following is what I would say. Like, the amount of volunteers that I see at your events, and all that, it's so cool how you put it all together, and we will get into to all that. Like, I'm very curious. So the next question is, was there any moment that you almost didn't start because of logistics or something else, but now you feel proud you did?
Yeah, like every day,
Yeah.
every day I turn around and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Why? Like, how am I going to pull this off? For the longest time, it was just me just
Yeah.
doing this stuff.
Right.
And luckily now I'm starting to build a team around me, which is great. And
Yeah.
has been super helpful to take the organization to the next level. But like when you're like, where Blaze is going to give us all this equipment, where
Yeah.
am I going to store it?
Right.
And how? Like, how am I going to
Right.
pay for this stuff? Like,
Right.
you want to say no then, or even just the filing for a nonprofit, like going
Yeah.
through that whole process,
Yeah.
like is brutal to
Right.
write all your bylaws and to get your board together and to go through the whole process of actually submitting to the government and getting that done. Like it
Yeah.
almost stopped multiple times
Right.
there. But, looking back, it goes back to that fear of failure thing that we talked about.
Yeah.
Like it's such a cool moment when you can finally reflect back and say, wow, like look how far I've come. And I need to do that. I need to look back almost every day because I get so discouraged by myself thinking that I'm not doing enough or I'm
Oh,
not. And if I just look back, it's been 4 years that we've been in existence, and
yeah.
the amount of impact that we've been able to have is incredible.
It
And
is.
so yeah, I mean, I don't. Again, I'm not. I don't have any good specifics for you, but
Sure.
it's definitely a daily thing that you got to push through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. I correlate that to the doing this podcast, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
right now, I think I have like 68 eight subscribers to the YouTube channel, and I knew it was going to be a long journey
Sure.
before. Like hopefully I want to get everybody's message out to the world. Like
Yeah.
part of the reason why I started this is because I'd hear people talk and I'd be like, man, that story's so cool. Or somebody would say something and I'm like, man, that quote is something that people just need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
That like the world needs to hear this. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one of my big motivators. And yeah, it's been a fun journey so far. I'm
Yeah.
like 3 months in right now. So
That's awesome.
um
That's something I've always wanted to do and haven't. I've
yeah.
had I've had multiple ideas for podcasts and just never committed to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, I don't use this space very often. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to talk outside the podcast,
Heck yeah.
I'd love to help you out with that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was interesting. Like I know cameras pretty well.
Yeah.
I know I know how to make a camera function. Sorry, this just lit up, but I was like, "What's going on?" But I know how to make a camera function, but like the lighting, the soundproofing walls, the OBS studio, the scene switching, the microphones. I mean, even like the cables that go to the audio
Yeah.
device. It's like it's so complex. And one of my thoughts with this is one, I'm going to start my own podcast, but I'm also going to help other people who have had this desire because I've probably thought about starting a podcast similar to you for forever, and
Right.
it's like yeah, but like I just don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna start, and it's like kind of like that fear of failure is like there I think a lot of people think, oh, it has to be perfect. I've
Right.
got to have everything hashed
Yep.
out. And like one of the cool things is my very first video was filmed with a GoPro, and it had like there was this like tiny little table that we were sitting across from the room from each other. There's no like it was just bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it was like I I I I was like, do I want to really put this out there? And it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I want to showcase that journey of like from when I was using the
Yeah.
GoPro to now using two possibly sometimes three cameras. So
Mhm.
but yeah, that's cool. I didn't mean to divert too much, but the next question what moment well, you kind of said this. What moment convinced you that the bridge was oh yeah, I guess this is so the question is what convinced you that the bridge wasn't just needed, but that you needed to build it?
Hmm. That's a really good question too.
If you don't
It
have an
is
answer,
no,
that's
I
fine.
it's just it's funny because like I think about this, like I remember when we were first meeting for the bridge
Yeah.
and we were talking through all this stuff and I was like, this is going to be my job one day.
Mm,
And like I felt weird saying this like
yeah.
to a bunch of again as an able-bodied dude, like
Yeah.
this is going to be my job one day. I'm going to
Yeah.
work for the bridge. I'm going to found it, but this is what I want to do, and I want to
Yeah.
bring you all with me. And people
Yeah.
are like, "We don't want to do this for our job." I was like, "What do you mean? Like this sounds like the best job
Yeah.
ever." But that was sort of a moment where it's like, "Okay, this is mine, and I've
Pull
got
that
this.
closer to you a
I
little
got
bit.
this awesome team around me, and um, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna take the lead on it, and
That's
you
awesome.
know, hopefully, people have confidence that
Yeah.
I'll see it through."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is as you were kind of saying. So you've been around since 2021. It does to me. It doesn't feel like that at all. Like it feels like we've been doing events together
Yeah.
and connecting and all that for a very long time. So
Mhm.
it is kind of cool. Like the dragons and icebreakers have been around for a while, but Cincinnati Tennis Foundation and the growth that they've had and
Yeah.
the growth the bridge has had and yeah, it's so cool. Let me ask you, what does it take to run an organization like this, and what's one of your biggest challenges in running it?
So the uncertainty of it all, right? You're trying to bring in we're not charging for anything,
Yeah,
right? Which
yeah,
we want to stay true to that as long as we can because I don't want finances to be a barrier to
yeah,
accessing
yeah,
this
yeah,
stuff. Like
yeah.
there's already too many barriers. All I want you to do is be able to just come out and try this. And if it's your thing, if this is what you like, then we'll help you find a way and
Right.
you probably will have to financially commit to something at some point. But
Mhm.
right now, the bridge doesn't charge for really a single thing.
That's awesome.
And so we rely heavily on
Donation.
donations,
Mhm.
right? From foundations, grants, and things like that.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm part time
Mhm.
at Children's and part time executive director of the bridge. And so
Yeah.
I'm splitting my time, which was a strategic move for a number of reasons. One was, my connection to the hospital is a lot right now. Like
Yeah.
that helps everything with
Right.
me being directly involved with the hospital and continuing to run the Be Well program.
Mhm.
But then we didn't have the finances for me to go full time in this,
Right.
right? That's part of the growth process. But it quickly turned over to where I don't have enough time to do the day to day stuff
Mhm.
anymore, right? Because we
Mhm.
have gotten we've had such a good trajectory and growth. And
Yeah.
so time is the biggest like limitation, but
Right.
with time, it means money and it means telling people that this is needed and this is impactful. This is going to benefit our community, even our economy as well,
Yeah.
supporting this nonprofit, which I
Yeah.
think we're starting as a, community, as a country to start to like understand that to a certain extent that like I hear so many people say like overhead. We don't want any overhead. We don't want this to go to overhead. And it's like
Mm.
when you're running a service-based organization, you need to have someone do it.
Right.
And
Right.
it's so like that sort of thinking about how we keep the lights on, but then also how do we strategically grow has been the most challenging, but one of the best parts of actually running the organization.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, oh man, there's like three different things that came to my mind. There's an interesting TED Talk that talks about nonprofits
Mm-hmm.
and well, like people want to donate when you don't use it on that overhead.
Yeah.
They want to donate when you use it on the community and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
the TED Talk was basically like, yeah, but like if these nonprofits used 50% or even more based on like doing like paying their employees and all that. Like, not only does it help the community by hiring people, but it also helps them grow even faster so that they can have an even bigger impact.
Right.
And it sounds like that's maybe something you're running into when
Mhm.
people want to donate, is they don't want you to spend a whole bunch of money on the actual nonprofit itself. They want you to
They wanna
spend it
put
on
their
the
name on
community.
things.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
wanna put
yeah.
their name on things. They wanna see the actual physical piece of equipment, and so
Yeah.
which great. Like, we've had a couple really generous donors that allowed us to get, you know, tons of push rim racing chairs and
Yeah,
hand
that's awesome.
cycles and stuff, and
Right.
that we need that stuff, but
Yeah.
we also need the other side of
Right.
it to make sure that we can maintain those bikes, that we
Yeah.
can get those bikes to the right people,
Yeah.
and, that doesn't happen with volunteers.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I don't know any organization that is totally thriving just on volunteerism.
Right.
You're gonna run into hiccups because at some point, it's not your job.
Of course. Yeah.
And it's just math, right? It's basic math with your time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to cut out the thing that's not mandatory for me, but if you're paying me and I'm under contract to do it, I'm going to get it done, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's another thing. I think I talked about Jake with this. I've talked to him at least outside of or off camera about this. So you said that you don't charge anybody,
Mhm.
and I think that's a very interesting business model. So one of the things that we decided with Cincinnati Tennis Foundation is
Mhm.
just like you, we don't want money to come in the way of that.
Right.
But if you can pay, we have like a set structure of like, hey, the tennis is this much, and then if you need a reduced fee, then we can do that.
Right.
And then there obviously there's some people who we haven't charged at all, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
One of I guess, what do you think about that versus the thought that you have? I'm not going to get offended by
No,
saying
not at all.
you're doing it one way, we're doing it another way. What do you think are I guess like pros and cons to both, or just what are your
Sure.
general thoughts?
Sure. So, I mean, the one con to not charging any money is that you're not bringing any money in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
that revenue is valuable if that's something that you want to do. And so it's
yeah.
not something that we haven't like we've discussed it in depth,
Hmm.
and I think at some point down the road, when we have our polished product, when we really know our true identity of who we are and what products we deliver,
Yeah,
that it'll probably end up being some sort of membership fee
sure.
that's associated with it. But
Well, that makes sense.
in the same way, you're that's not going to be a barrier to you. If
Yeah,
you cannot afford that, someone else can help pave the way for you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
right.
so, the I think our our issue right now, and not necessarily an issue, is that a lot of these things don't necessarily cost a whole lot to run. They cost a lot in manpower,
Mhm.
right? But from a,
True.
manpower is what I would say would be the most costly thing when it's associated with us running our programming,
Yeah,
because once you have a set of rackets and balls and a court, you're good. You can just go
right.
play,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah,
to you coaching and all that stuff, that's where it ends up getting expensive.
yeah,
And so I think as we start to add more people to our team,
yeah.
that's where it's another thought. We're like, all right, we've got to sort of offset the cost of paying people to run these programs and
Right,
coach these things. Where me, it's
right,
just kind of like, well, this is my Tuesday. This is what I
right,
do. I
right.
just hop in the car and we go run programming. If I have to, I'll throw my kids in the car with me, and
Yeah,
you're gonna sit on the sidelines for a minute while I help fix up this chair or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only other I think concern that I have is like on the Cincinnati Tennis Foundation website, we have what the prices are, and I think we even say something like, "Hey, we don't want barriers to get in the way,"
Right.
but like how often is someone reading through that to see, all right, and then they see the price and they're like, whoa, no,
Yeah.
thank you, I'm gonna do something else.
Hmm.
And there's a worry there. I haven't ever heard somebody like I've actually had people approach me like, "Hey, we can't afford this," which is great. Like, because then I can conquer that, right?
Right.
I can say no, don't worry about it.
Mhm.
But then I'm sure there's a percentage of people who are looking and they're like, "Whoa, no, that's too much," and maybe they don't even want to ask for help,
That's another thing
right?
too.
So
Like, yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. Like the donation model, I'd be very curious, like just from a general like perspective of like the donation model versus the charging model as far as um I don't know, like not necessarily like I guess how many people, how many more people one or the other impacts, and then like I don't know.
Yeah, there so I feel like with the pay to play sort of model, like our youth sports have gotten crazy with some of the
Yeah,
pay to play stuff where it's
yeah,
becoming extremely expensive to even do any sort of sport.
like able-bodied,
Able
right?
bodied.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing that it does do is it financially commits you to something where you
Yes.
can't flake out because
Yes.
you're like, hey, I already put in this money. I'm already doing it. And so some things we've
That's a good
toyed
call.
around with. Yeah, like when we go to Perfect North is our local adaptive or local ski slope. And
Yeah.
so I'm a instructor out there, an adaptive instructor, and it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Like it's insanely expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out what I can do from the bridge standpoint to help break down that barrier
Right.
directly within Perfect North.
Right.
But because of that, I'm limited in the number of people that I can take out at a
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
So what I've played around with doing is like, hey, I'm going to charge you up front and
Mhm.
then I'll refund you if you
Mhm.
show up. Right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's another thing is people just will take advantage of that and not understand that like it's $200 for a lesson.
Right.
So like
Right.
I'm taking that bill, which I'm happy to do. I want to do that because otherwise you will not experience skiing. I
Yeah.
guarantee you won't wake up one day and just be like, oh, I know I can go to Perfect North. No,
Yeah.
we have to sort of open those doors for you, but like it's expensive.
Yeah. Right.
And I want you to realize that.
Yeah. Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know if you know, I used to downhill ski.
Really?
Back in the day, I went to Mad River all the time, and
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
I also had the opportunity to go out to Breckenridge in
Heck
Colorado
yeah.
and ski with some Paralympians, and oh
That's
man,
awesome.
it was a really cool experience. I miss those days, and I played wheelchair basketball back in the day too.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, between my podcast, coaching, tennis, and work, and other things, it's so hard
There's
to
only
do
so
all
much you
that.
can do.
Yeah,
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 for
yeah,
sure.
exactly. Wow, that's really those. Yeah, thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. How many people would you guess are currently impacted? And you can do like since it started or
Yeah.
this year or wherever you want to go with that.
Yeah, so in 2024, if we looked at those numbers, we served 252 individuals with disabilities, but then we
Nice.
use another metric, which is like our individual opportunities. And so when you think about that, 252 people have come back multiple times. And
Yeah,
so we had almost 1,300 unique opportunities to try something new last year,
yeah,
which is, such a cool thought that,
yeah.
that's a lot of people.
That
That's a
is
lot of things.
awesome.
Yeah.
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 Okay. And then what's one or two of your favorite success stories of someone you've helped within the bridge?
Mm, that's a really good question. I think for one, my buddy Yoshi,
Okay.
I love Yoshi. He's a man. He's probably in his 50s,
Okay.
right? Recent spinal cord injury, but um,
He uses a wheelchair.
mhm.
Okay.
And we got him into a hand cycle when we first started. Well, that's another accomplishment. I'll start with Yoshi and then tell you what the other accomplishment with that is
Okay.
we got him into a hand cycle probably 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and now he's riding 30 miles a day in a
Yeah.
hand cycle. He's got multiple hand cycles now. He's got his
Yeah.
carbon one. He's got his reclined one. We just went mountain biking the other day on one of the bridge's adaptive mountain bikes, and so
Yeah.
those sort of things when you get someone into a sport and then they're hooked and then
Yeah.
they take it from there.
Yeah.
I love that stuff so much.
Yeah.
And so there's so many stories about that where we
Yeah.
loan someone a piece of equipment and they're like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what I've been missing,
Yeah.
and how do I keep going with it? So
Can I ask you, Yoshi was a new injury when he started doing this, or had he been
no,
injured for a
he
while?
was pretty new injury.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like within a year, without going too much into his history.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
I feel like it was like within a year, and
And
he's yeah.
I assume he wasn't doing much physical activity and much with sports or anything like that.
Prior to his injury, I think he was super active.
Sure.
So I think he just was trying to find whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was really much of a cyclist prior to it, but
Right.
then now it's like
Yeah.
we're traveling, we're going up to Grand Rapids and racing with other hand cyclists and
That's
stuff.
awesome.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, one of our biggest accomplishments that I've had in the past few years was getting hand cycling into the Flying Pig Marathon. So that's our local marathon here. One of the best marathons in the country, but
Yeah.
one of the issues with it was that it didn't have a hand cycling division associated with it.
Oh.
And there's some controversy with some of like the running events having some of that stuff in there. Like they've always allowed push rim racing chairs, so like your typical track racing chairs in it, because it's more like running, right?
Yeah.
You're not using different moment arms, and you're not using different gearing systems to help give you a mechanical advantage like you do with a bike, with a hand cycle. But with all the hills and stuff around here, like, to get in one of those track chairs and go, that's nearly impossible for 99% of the people to actually manage those hills.
Yeah.
Unless you're a high level athlete and you've been training like crazy to do it. It's not really possible. So we talked about it for a while and finally got them to agree to help us to do the 10K portion of it. And it's like a pilot, like, hey, it's a smaller loop, it's less hills, let's just see what happens. Because their biggest concern, and rightfully so, is safety, right? Of like all the other runners, the people in the hand cycles, and then thinking about security detail and all that stuff. How do we get people off the course? There's so many logistical things that go into it that I didn't appreciate until being in it and helping to plan the hand cycling portion. But man, that program last year, we had 20 people in hand cycles that crossed the finish line.
Nice.
And it was just so cool. And these are all people, maybe 3 of them have their own cycles.
Yeah.
Right. They're all people that are using our cycles now, or the Cincinnati Rec Commission cycles, like, and doing it for the first time and then getting hooked. Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Right.
Yeah, I've done hand cycling before, by the way, and I actually have my own hand cycle. But man, I need to make it out to one of those events.
Yeah, man, come on out.
I haven't done very much with that, and
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's so fun.
Yeah.
So
Come mountain biking with us too.
yeah,
Dude.
yeah, I'd love that.
We're picking up a new Lasher bike this week.
Okay.
Which it's a $24,000 mountain bike. It's a freaking car, right? Yeah.
Okay.
But one of the distributors of the bikes, we ordered some bikes from them in the past, some hand cycles from them in the past, and someone got a VA grant and they purchased it, and the guy got it and rode it for 5 miles and said, I don't want this. This isn't for me. So it's like, oh my gosh. So they reached out to me and said, we'll give it to you for 15 grand. I was like, yes. I went to my board right away. Like, we're not going to get an opportunity to get this nice of a bike at this rate. We're picking it up. So we'll have a sweet Lasher
Nice.
soon as next week.
That's awesome.
Right.
Congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so any other success stories? It sounded like you might have had one other one.
I mean, when I think about all of our programming that we do, like any of our long-standing programs that are more than just a tride event. I love all the tride events. Those are all usually super successful and get people involved. But like I said, sometimes those tride events, they're a one-off thing, and then there's no one else to pick it up and do it.
Yeah.
So that's where we say, okay, well, like I said, we're not touching tennis, we're not touching hockey or basketball,
Right.
but let's try and do soccer. Let's try and do kayaking. And so, like, to get our when we first started as the Bridge, we had a big event called, and this was in conjunction with like US Soccer and their sort of motto of this adapt and thrive group that they have. And so we created an adapt and thrive disability soccer clinic and brought uh, members from the national teams of cerebral palsy soccer, power
Cool.
wheelchair soccer, amputee soccer, and blind soccer all out to the field
Yeah.
to just play
Yeah.
in your respective groups, right?
Yeah.
And out of that grew our cerebral palsy soccer team, which is now one of the biggest in the country,
Yeah.
which is why we probably have 25 to 30 kids with CP playing
Nice.
that. And then our power wheelchair soccer team has just recently started to really take off to where we have 10 people or so at practice. I'm getting asked to, so we've got four. If you haven't seen power wheelchair soccer, but you know what Rocket League is,
Uh,
it's essentially that you're playing in these fast-paced go-karts,
yeah.
hitting a soccer ball around, and it's one of the only sports for really competitive sports for a power wheelchair user.
Yeah.
There's that and bocce, and you could think about some other things that you could potentially do, but those two are like ones that are actually highly competitive.
Yep.
And so we made it a point, we're going to get four of these $10,000 chairs, these
Nice.
specific power soccer chairs, because it just makes a world of difference. And
Okay.
now my coaches, my volunteers are saying we need two more because we want to travel, we want to play. So
Nice.
it's those sort of things where you put something into motion and you don't know what's going to happen on the other end, but
Yeah.
then you realize the community's like, we need this, and you just make it happen. Those are my favorite success stories.
Yeah, those are that's awesome. Yeah, one of the things that we've been throwing around as well is doing more multi-sport tri days. Like I forget what the sport was, but I think Renee said something like, "Hey, should we incorporate this into our tri day?" And my response was, I'd love to, but let's limit it to the sports that we have,
Yeah.
and then do more tri days.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Like,
that what that was she wanted to do blind and visually impaired hockey,
yeah,
which is great. Like I
yeah,
want to do that, but if we do that during the seated sports day, will that detract from other or
right,
divert our energy where we could just say, hey, let's do a blind and
right,
visually impaired day where we're running BVI
yeah,
tennis
yeah,
and hockey and other sports along those lines. So
yeah.
we definitely should try and keep that up. Which, by the way, another cool thing that we're working on right now, and I think this is going to be awesome, is creating a tri-state adaptive sports alliance
Ooh,
where
okay.
we look up towards Columbus, Indy, Lexington, Louisville, with Cincinnati sort of at the epicenter of it all,
Yeah,
where we bring all these different adaptive sports providers to maybe a quarterly meeting
yeah,
where we talk about things that we're going to do.
yeah,
We have a shared calendar that people can access
right.
because, sometimes people are willing to travel pretty far for adaptive sports,
Yeah,
like, up to like 2 hours. And sometimes it's like, did you know that a half hour the other way you had
yeah,
this going on?
yeah,
And not that I don't want you to come down and hang with us, but like, let's make it easier on you.
right.
And the more people we can get into adaptive sports, the more competition we have.
Yeah,
And so um, we're talking about trying to get that together before the end of the year. And so
mhm.
you'll hear from us on that, on what
Heck yeah.
that's going to look like.
Okay.
But then from there, that opens up so much door for competition,
Yeah,
right? Because we can say, hey, the Tri-State Alliance is putting together a competition, and we're going to make sure that everyone from Louisville, Lexington, Columbus, Indy know that it's happening, and we can rotate between cities of where these things happen too. Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and we could talk about this one off, but somebody approached me. You might know who. I don't. I try not to. I try to avoid kids' names.
Yeah.
Talking about that on
Totally
the
fair.
podcast, but the like doing a tri day for like pair standings. So like one with tennis, one with soccer, one with like another
Hmm.
sport or
Yeah.
whatever. So anyway, that's yeah, I love the idea of doing all this, and then another dream or like a goal of mine is, and sounds like you're on board with this too. It's just a logistics thing. Is
Hmm.
one of the most meaningful things to me growing up with spina bifida is going to multi-day sports camps,
Right.
and they just you know, it teaches independence, but you also connect with other
Right.
people, and then like the volunteers get so much out of it because they're taking care of someone who maybe can't go to a camp otherwise,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So anyway,
We gotta do that. Yeah,
that's something that's in the pipeline that we'll do eventually.
for
But
sure, for sure.
um, okay, so what's like a surprise story? So something that surprised you, an athlete who outdid what they or you originally pictured.
Mm.
And I have a story if you want to think about that.
Yeah,
It's
you
up to you.
go ahead with your story, and I'll think on mine as well while you're talking through it.
So I had an older kid with autism, and he can talk barely,
Mhm.
and you might
I
have
know
met him.
exactly
Yeah,
who he
yeah,
is. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And so we did tennis, and so you'd hit the ball to him, and maybe he'd hit it, maybe he wouldn't. But then like if the ball goes past him, he'll go pick it up and then come back right to his spot, and he'll just kind of sway back and forth, and we'll be like, hit the ball, and
Yeah.
like 30 seconds later, he might drop the ball and then hit it.
Yeah.
And then you'd hit it back to him and he'd catch it or do something else. And, you know, like it is one of those things that's like, okay, he's having fun. That's great. Let's keep doing this. But
Mhm.
then we did a pickleball event and he was looking around and I guess seeing other players and we hit the pickleball at him and he hit it back and then we hit it back and we'd start to rally
Yeah.
and it was like wait, hold on,
Yeah.
what just clicked in this guy's head
Mhm.
that allowed him to start rallying. And
Mhm.
then we took him back to tennis as well and he started rallying in tennis as well.
Yeah.
So it's just like one of the lessons that I've learned, and it's weird for me to say this as a disabled person myself,
Yeah.
is just don't assume. Like push
Right.
people, try to push people as far as
Mhm.
possible. Obviously, you don't want them getting frustrated and
Right.
quitting, but like it's just a neat a neat story that's like that's one of my motivations for doing what I do. You know?
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a such a big piece that I try and instill in especially parents.
Yeah.
Parents, we love your parents,
Oh
right? I'm a parent
God.
myself, but you can be some of the most limiting to your child.
Yes.
And until you can kind of step back or step away or let them do things, and they're gonna be stuck. And
Yeah.
like I just see it so often, and I don't know. I've gotten pretty good at being gentle with encouraging people, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like, hey man, this is right in front of you
Yeah.
and I'm not going to shut up about it until you come try it with me,
Yeah.
right? And but for me, one of the things that I think I'm always I love those sort of things where you're like, I didn't think we'd be able to do that, and
Yeah.
it's gotten to the point where our motto for the bridge is it doesn't have to be easy, it just has to be possible.
Oh,
And I'm like, we can make anything and everything possible. It may not look exactly the same as other people, but we
yeah.
can figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
You just got to get super super creative, which is always fun. So like,
Yeah.
you know, when I think about like hand cycling, like you're looking at someone with like a quad spinal cord injury. Like we've had a
Right.
couple that come in and you're like, how the heck am I going to do this? Like, right, you have limited arm, upper body strength, no wrist control,
Mhm.
and you just do some research and you start to figure out, okay, there's these things that are called quad grips that we can slide your hands into and you can propel the bike that way.
Yeah.
We can shift a brake around and we can put it underneath your armpit so you can brake or you can shift using your
Oh,
arm doing the
cool.
like you just have to get wild. But one of my favorite things that I ever did was we have been running like adaptive gaming clinics once a month.
Mm.
And recently my buddy that helped me start that through the bridge just moved up to Indy as a physician. And so I said he wanted to bring things up to Indy. And I'm like, rather than try and bring the bridge up to Indy, how about you start your own nonprofit for gaming and we'll be your chapter down here in
Cool.
Cincinnati. So started that. It's called RX Gaming. Really, really cool stuff. But one of the first events that we did for one of these gaming nights. A kid came up that I've known through clinic for a long, long time,
Mm-hmm.
who had an anoxic brain injury, which, if you know anything about brain injuries, that's having lack of oxygen to your brain
Oh.
is really, 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 really tough, and the prognosis is not always super great.
Mm.
For the most part, it's not great. And
Mm-hmm.
so he is really funny dude. But he has very, very minimal movement. He's got
Mm.
contractures through his legs. His legs are stuck where they're at.
Mm.
He has about maybe an inch of kick from his wheelchair up and down.
Mm.
And then he's got on his index finger of his left hand just a little bit of
A
movement
twitch,
where he
yeah.
can just flex a little bit on his pinky. And so he wanted to play video games. And so I came up with an idea with the family to get a tray that
Uh-huh.
we could roll right over his feet, and we put these giant buttons that are connected to the controller above his feet, so
Yeah.
he just kicks to
Oh,
hit,
wow.
and then he can use that tiny little hand, like the finger movement, and we have these things called microlight triggers that you can just tap them and they work. And so with like how the adaptive Xbox controllers are set up,
Uh-huh.
you can rewire all that stuff to a different button, a different switch, a different joystick, and then you can
Mhm.
also make it where it's on co-pilot mode. So what we did was we had someone that was playing or steering for him,
Mhm.
but then he was playing Rocket League.
Uh-huh.
He was jumping, boosting, and kicking the ball by using those 3 buttons that we set up for him.
Oh, that's
And
so
so, yeah,
cool.
and so, like, again, the sky's the limit. I've done things where I've put, where someone has a head array because they have a high level quad spinal cord injury or maybe muscular dystrophy, and just use your head to tap side to side to play video games.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you looked into like doing stuff with your eyes, like eye tracking and
Yeah.
stuff like that?
That stuff is hopefully that stuff is on the market
Yeah.
more and at a
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
affordable rate as, our
Yeah.
technology.
I bet it's expensive.
Yeah. Right now the eye gaze stuff is super expensive, but like um the technology's there where it probably could be done with your
Yeah.
phone,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
some of that stuff could be done with your phone.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see what happens in the next 5 years.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Um Yeah, that's so cool. I didn't know those adaptations for video gaming and whatnot.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Let me go back to something that you said, and that I'm very passionate about as well is parents or teachers or friends coddling
Yeah.
the disabled people.
Yep.
And one of the things that my mom has always said growing up is, if you break a bone, it'll heal. If you break their spirit, it'll paralyze them for a lifetime.
Mm,
And I love that quote because like, I'm so grateful that my mom just was like, yeah, go try this, go try that.
right.
And like, I've had a kid who like gets pushed in, or their parents will come in with their tennis wheelchair. I was like, hey, why aren't you doing that? Um, excuse me. So I guess the first one is, how how do you feel about, or like, how do you broach that? Like, and the other interesting thing is, you're able-bodied.
Right.
And so it's a lot easier for me, I think, as a person, as a fellow individual in a
Yeah.
wheelchair, to be like, hey, you need to be more independent, and you
Hmm.
can.
Hmm.
And I can be direct, and like, maybe a little bit more direct. Obviously, I'm not gonna like whatever, but
Yeah.
how do you broach those situations?
It's a good question, and some of it stems from where someone is with their stage of
Yeah.
readiness.
Yeah.
Like ready to accept their diagnosis, ready to move on, the grieving process, all that stuff is some people that's 2 weeks, some people that's 2 years, that's their whole life where they're going through that grieving process. And so for me, it's persistence,
Mm.
and it's about not being judgmental in any of that stuff, but continually saying like, hey, you can do more.
Yeah.
You can do more than what you're doing right now. And I know it because I've seen it. And if you want to talk to my buddies that are in chairs about it, I know the people that can tell you that you can do
Right.
more. Right. And so it's kind of like that handoff there. Sometimes I'm just blunt. Like the other day I had a family that said like, oh, my little girl keeps her hands are getting all torn up from her chair. And I was like, well, if you talk to my buddies Jake and Zach, they'd say, great, get them calloused up because you're going to
Yes.
need those for your whole life.
Yeah,
So get them
exactly.
calloused up, figure out how you're going to push and not get blisters on your hands, and
Yeah.
then you're good to go. I was like,
Uh-huh.
I'll help you with getting some, because she's really tiny. I'll help you with fabricating some sort of gloves for you
Right.
that'll fit on her tiny hands. But
Right.
otherwise, you probably should let her just
Yeah.
figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've I've tried gloves, right? And I just hate them. Like
Yeah.
I need to be able to feel the racket in my hand or
Mhm.
even in basketball, like I just don't like gloves for that reason. And yeah, blisters happen. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna get calloused over. You'll be all right.
Yep.
Like it's just a blister and
Right.
it'll be all right. So but yeah, that's an interesting thing. I hear a lot of times able-bodied people will say, "Well, it's not my place to
Yeah.
make those comments." Like
Mhm.
I like even I might get like, "Oh, I don't know what they're going through," or
Yeah.
whatever else. And like, can you talk about that? Just touch base on that for a second.
Yeah. I mean, so that's again imposter syndrome all the time where I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm serving this community where, could someone with a disability be doing this job better? And maybe, yeah. But again, if my passion's there, I'm gonna go after it and do it.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to me relaying the message of like, hey, I'm not disabled, but I work in this space
Yeah.
and I've been a part of this space and I've seen what people are capable of.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it's a matter of experience for me. It's like
Yeah.
I've surrounded myself with enough people that are that have a disability, and I put myself in these positions where I'm going to conferences, I'm learning about all this stuff that I feel like I have the confidence to
Right.
speak on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it's like to push every day in a
Mhm.
chair, but Zach does, so let's go talk to him.
Mhm.
So it's not always like I'm gonna give you the direct answer, but I'm gonna connect you to the people. It's never a like, oh, well, I just don't know. I don't,
Yeah.
it's not for me to say.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it is my job to say that you could be doing more, and let me show you how.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay, so what do you say to somebody, and tell me if you've encountered this, but what do you say to somebody who they themselves doesn't want to be as independent as you think they could be?
Hmm. Yeah, that's I've pushed people too far
Yeah.
before. I have definitely, and it's something that I've learned to understand and kind of read the room a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I usually happens when I will push a kid, then the kid sort of is done, breaks down because I
Right.
thought I could get him to do a little bit more and
Yeah.
upset the parents and stuff like that. And I think I've had to kind of reel myself back and say like I'm just letting you know that you have the potential. So when you're ready,
Yeah.
let's talk about it and let's see
Yeah.
about doing those things. So I don't have a good answer for you on that one because I've screwed up enough times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that when you're ready, but like for me, it's like let's do it now.
I
Let's
know.
get you ready. Like
It's-
you're so much.
Yeah. I know. It's right in front of you. You just
Yeah,
you just gotta say yes to it. I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
It's tough.
Absolutely. Well, that's interesting. So what's next for the bridge?
Mm. On a short term, we've got a bunch of events coming up in terms of like
Yep.
we've got our our fall CP soccer and power wheelchair soccer season starting back up at the end of September.
Mm.
We obviously, which by the time this is released, the 4-way triad will be passed already,
Already
but
gone.
we've got
Yeah.
our 4-way triad. Over the winter we do several different adaptive skiing days,
Mhm.
and then we'll get into our hand cycling program, usually at the end of February.
Cool. Okay.
Other big things that I really want to try and push forward, and this is with the help of our buddy Jake Counts, is getting more people in push rim racing chairs.
Yeah.
We have about 20 or so racing chairs now through the bridge that we want to get high school, middle school athletes in because it's one of the only sports that you can wear your school's jersey and go compete.
Oh, interesting.
So like, yeah, so that's what's awesome about, at least in Ohio, you if you have an athlete, from my understanding, if you have an athlete who's a chair user that comes to your meet, then you have to make a 100-meter or whatever race that they're going to do within that.
Okay.
And maybe I don't know if it is more selective, like there's only certain meets, but I'm pretty sure like if you have someone racing, but the problem is you've got one person racing against themselves.
Yeah.
And so I want to get everyone in that so that
Yeah.
like when you go to a meet, you can expect 3 to 4 other people
Right.
that are competing, because the only time you see those people is when you get to the state meets and you're finally racing against those other folks. So, but that's one thing that I really hope to, in the next 6 months to a year, me and Jake figure that out, to really get people, especially with him running UC Adaptive Athletics,
Yeah.
which we haven't talked about, but I'm sure you guys talked about it on
Yeah.
your creating that pipeline
Yeah.
for people to get from, to go to college and stay in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But when you look at a long-term plan, I've got big dreams, and I've always had big dreams since the start of this. One thing that really sparked me to get me going in this was like, I want to be the next Lakeshore for the Midwest. I want to be like, I want to have a Paralympic training center in the Midwest where people come, we compete, we get you the resources. And so we'll see where we end up. But, in the next 5 years, I think I want to go for a capital campaign and actually push for that thing. For right now, what I want to do is just find a physical location. Right now, we operate solely out of the community. I have a couple storage spots where we house all our equipment, but otherwise I'm putting it in my trailer and we're just driving around the city doing things. So the next big step for us now is to find that physical space, get someone that will, support us in doing that, and then grow our team for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome. There was something that I wanted to ask. Oh, one thing that I just thought of right now is so I played high school able-bodied tennis in a wheelchair. I played against people. I played wheelchair tennis against able-bodied people.
Yeah.
I tried out for my high school team. I made the team. I did it in middle school as well. And I played against able-bodied people.
Yeah.
And one of the crazy things is I approached the coach in middle school and I said, "Hey, I want to play tennis." And she goes, "Oh, we don't have a wheelchair division," or something like that, right? And then I was like, I don't care about the wheelchair division. I want to compete against able-bodied people.
Yeah.
And she looked down and then she goes, "Well, how are you going to get your wheelchair to away games?" That was her first question. And I'm like, I can, the chair comes apart and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then she goes, "Okay, but we don't keep everybody. We do make cuts and you're going to have to make the team and you might get cut." And I was like, "Great. I want to be treated like that."
Right.
And sure enough, I made the team, and it's interesting that the other barrier is wheelchairs get 2 bounces.
Yeah.
And that is a USTA rule, and high schools and middle schools go by USTA rules.
Yeah.
And so it took a little bit more to say, hey, like this is part of the rules for able-bodied people and wheelchair people. And I, one of the fun things is sometimes I'd play with a doubles partner, and let's say he'd whiff a ball
Then
on the first bounce, then I'd get it on the second bounce. But yeah, so like how cool would it be if we figured out like all the sports like racing, wheelchair tennis that you can actually play
the individual sports that you don't need
able-bodied. Yeah. I mean, certainly there's more than individual sports. I don't know. Like certainly you can't play basketball against able-bodied people. Like you can pig and stuff like that.
Right.
But, that doesn't work out. But like, have you thought about other sports that you can do that with?
I really haven't in terms of like.
I haven't either.
But it goes back to when you look at team sports, that's the hard part,
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
fielding a whole team.
Right. Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah, and if you think about it, like we have the resources, like Ian Smith oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his organization? Oh, School Aid.
yeah, yeah.
Ian Smith with School Aid, like Cincinnati Tennis Foundation is in a whole bunch of schools, so
Mhm.
like it wouldn't be, and then you guys are starting that as well. Like I don't know.
Yeah, we got to infiltrate. We got to figure out how we can make
Yeah,
that part of the curriculum.
yeah,
So
yeah. But
we'll get to it. We'll
yeah.
make it happen.
Anyway, just brainstorming here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so next question is, what advice would you give someone listening who wants to do this in their own city?
Mm. So one thing that I feel like is a physical therapist, you know, I'm going to speak from that, right?
Yeah.
Is when we get our degree, you're a physical therapist, and that's really all you can do.
Yeah.
That's the thought. That's the
Uh-huh.
mindset.
Uh-huh.
And so when I am teaching my students and I'm talking to them, um, I am telling them, you can take this wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the traditional route
Yeah.
of being a physical therapist in clinic. If you love doing that, great. We need those people.
Right.
But at the same time, if you want to branch out and do something else, you have the skills to be able to do it. You may have to learn new skills because
Right.
we don't learn anything about business, finances, marketing, or anything like that within our schooling.
Yeah.
But your core set of skills in understanding equipment and like working with people with disabilities is there,
Right.
right? And for me, it's evolved like crazy.
Yeah.
So my thought is just don't feel like you're pigeonholed into your career,
Right.
because there are so many different things that you can do.
There really are.
When it comes to starting something in another city, my first piece of advice would be to get all of the key stakeholders together in
Mhm.
one Zoom call in one room. And so
Mhm.
like when we look back to what we started with, you know, it was like I made sure that I had connections in every single spot of the city within the adaptive sports or with inclusive sports, whether it's
Cool.
with Top Soccer, Cincinnati Tennis Foundation, so that I knew that was what was out there, and
Yeah.
it was easy for me to organize those triad events.
Yeah.
And I think any hospital, any city, any major city can run those for very low cost
Yeah.
and just get people connected
Mm.
in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because you also need someone who's as passionate as you,
Mhm.
Jake, me, Renee,
Right.
right? Like you need those passionate people to care and go through with that.
Right.
But I feel like physical therapists, because they're already kind of in that world,
Yeah.
right? Like that's so great
Mhm.
for someone to do that. So that's interesting. That leads me into my next question. You know, I think if someone is listening to this, hopefully they reach out to me on my channel, or I'll put all your links in the description as
Sure.
well, and they can reach out to you. And you know, if there is someone that's wanting to start this in another city, like we can help out,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
we could advise and maybe even come to their first event or something like that.
Right.
We could certainly, if it's not us, we can certainly send somebody, because
Mhm.
we know a lot of people who would
Exactly.
be willing to do that. So,
Right.
how can people get involved in the bridge?
Yeah. I mean, so there's a few different ways. Obviously, financially, you want to
Yeah.
donate to us, go right ahead. We'd love to do that.
Yeah.
We'd love to have your support, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you go to thebridgeadaptive.org, we have a few different spots that you can go to. If you want to get involved in volunteering,
Yeah.
there's a volunteer form that you can fill out, and you know, we'll reach out to you with a monthly newsletter on things that are coming up.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a potential athlete, you know, get on, and whether you want equipment, if you want to look at demoing equipment, there's a spot on our site where you can request to demo a piece of equipment,
Yeah.
or all of our signups are there.
Cool.
But I mean, the simplest thing is to just go subscribe to our newsletter, follow us, and then see what's up.
Yeah.
When something pops up, again, it's all free.
Yeah.
So you might as well sign up.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Right.
mean?
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Okay. And what do you say to someone who's like, "Oh, I've never done anything with adaptive sports"? Someone volunteering.
from a volunteer
Yeah.
standpoint, this is my one of the barriers I want to break down a ton is like I don't want you to volunteer because you have the medical experience. That's great.
Yeah.
I want you to volunteer because you have the passion or the experience with that specific sport.
Yeah.
Right. And so like when we do adaptive mountain biking, I bring out 10 to 15 able-bodied mountain bikers that have no idea about these bikes, but they absolutely love mountain biking. And I'm
Yeah.
like, those are the people that are going to take this and want to see it
Yeah.
continue to grow,
Yep.
because they love the sport so much and they want to see as many people being involved with it. So I
Yeah.
tell people, I don't want your experience. I want you to experience this. Like I
Yeah.
want you to see what's possible for these people
Yeah.
because otherwise you're already putting limitations on them subconsciously that
Yeah.
you didn't know were even there. And
Yeah.
so like when you get out to an adaptive mountain bike event and this guy's ripping the trails with you right next to you, like, oh sweet. Now I
Yeah.
can tell my buddy that we need to go mountain biking together. Now I
Yeah.
can tell my friend's friend or my whoever that this is possible. So it's about
Yeah.
growing that community and kind of the ripple effect that comes from
I love that.
just getting one person involved.
Yeah. I'm gonna move on to the next segment, but
Sure.
anything about the bridge that you wanna cover that we didn't already?
No, just if you know anybody, just push them our way.
Yeah.
We'll figure out where to get them,
Yeah.
even if it's not directly with our programs. That's one thing that having my trajectory of my career be the way that it has is that I probably know every
Yeah.
inclusive or adaptive sports for the most part,
Right.
the contact to get you places. And
Right.
so if you come to me and tell me I have this diagnosis with this going on, with this going on, then I can say these 3 sports are the best for you. Go do that first. Yeah.
Even if you're watching this in another state or city, like we probably have connections where we can email somebody,
For
and
sure.
they'll email somebody else, and we can get you involved.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's that's another cool thing about about what we do here in Cincinnati. It is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a little bit of humor
Yeah.
mixed in here.
Let's
I've got
hear
a
it.
segment. It's called Wheelie Bad Jokes.
Okay. Excellent.
So here's how it works. I'm gonna tell you a funny joke. I want you to either rate it or give me another joke, and you can do both
Okay.
as
Okay.
well. So
Okay.
I'm curious if you've heard this one because I've definitely when I was looking at jokes that are kind of related to what we're talking about.
Mhm.
I've heard it before. But it's okay. So it's ever since I got in a wheelchair, my wife's been so rude to me. She's been pushing me around and talking behind my back.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for any sort of pun or dad joke like that. So I'm gonna give that one. I'll give that one a 7. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. That's pretty solid.
I think since I've been doing this, that's the highest rating so
Hey,
far.
I'm all about stupid jokes like that. That just play on words, any of that stuff. That's awesome.
Yes. So do you have one, or do you want to move
Oh my
on?
gosh, do I have any like specific? I feel like that would probably be the one thing that might be tone deaf if I throw out it. No, I really don't have any jokes specific to what we're talking about. No.
No worries. Okay, so real quick, I wanted to touch on Be Well.
Yeah.
How's Be Well different than the bridge?
Mhm.
And just
Yeah.
anything dealer's choice.
So Be Well is a hospital-based wellness program that we run through Cincinnati Children's, and it's very similar to the bridge,
Yeah.
partly because I helped create it, right?
Yeah.
And help move it into existence.
Yeah.
But it is really about getting our kids that come through OTPT or anyone with complex medical needs.
OTPT. what is that for
OTPT,
the audience?
occupational therapy and physical therapy at
Okay.
Cincinnati Children's, my department, about getting them out and experience things. So
That's awesome.
we do a lot more of like the leisure activities too. So less of like the bridge, we'll do some sort of like leisure activities, but mostly we're focusing on sports
Yeah.
where with Be Well, there's like a garden program,
Mm.
there's like a music making program, a dance program, a cooking program,
Oh.
those sort of things that we kind of do again with community partners.
Yeah.
But the big thing with that is like there's no direct programming that Be Well is running. It's always connected to a specific community partner,
Got it.
because we want to connect people to the experts,
Yeah.
and also from a liability standpoint and stuff, we want to like there's not a whole lot we can do outside of the walls of the hospital without
Right.
having someone else tied to it. Yeah,
Right. Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. Um, and what is your involvement with Be Well compared to the bridge?
So right now, I split my time
Mm-hmm.
between children's and the bridge, and it's kind of merged and kind of they're overlapping quite a bit now. So
Yeah.
like a lot of the things that we're doing with Be Well, like so we train for a 5K every year, and it's
Oh,
called Be Well Move is that program. But now
cool.
that I have the bridge, we can open up the doors to so many more people because I have 4 or 5 pediatric hand cycles. I have
Yeah.
frame runners. I
Yeah.
have racing chairs that we can get people in to be able to experience that couldn't experience it before.
Yeah.
So to be honest, a lot of it now is like, hey, when I'm running a event through Be Well and it's specific to kids, I'm just going to do the same thing with adults the following day. So if I do
Oh,
water skiing through the Be Well,
yeah.
on Saturday,
Yeah.
then on Sunday we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to for the bridge host adults to come out. So it's kind of like
Cool.
breaking that, you know, the for me age doesn't really matter when it
Yeah.
comes I just want everyone to come out and
Yeah.
experience this, but within the confines of what a hospital program is
Yeah.
for children's.
Right.
There is somewhat loosely a number on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it allows me to say yes to more than just the kids that are getting services
Cool.
at children's. Yeah.
Okay. Um, what inspired? Well, I feel like I've answered that. So, um, do you have a story of someone who's been impacted by Be Well?
Oh yeah, like plenty of people. I mean, that's one of the things where it's such a nice hospital, like it's such a nice transition
Yeah.
because I think you when you're done with OT or PT and you're like, all right, go play,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's scary. It's like I don't trust any program to have my kid in it. But if you
Yeah.
slap that children's logo on it and say we're doing this in conjunction, then
Oh,
it opens up the doors. So, we have people saying like this is the one thing that is like gotten us out of the house and truly changed like the trajectory of our child was
cool.
understanding that there was a community for us, that
Cool.
we can experience things. Yeah, there was one buddy that wrote that we took water skiing not too long ago, and he through his communication device said that was like the most fun thing I've ever done. And
That's
like, yeah, it was so
awesome.
awesome to see. The mom sent me a video. I was like, yeah, this is why we do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had a kid that said I did something today that I never thought I could do.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah,
That's it.
that's awesome.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's exactly it. Okay. Anything else on the Be Well standpoint?
No, I'm gonna be interested to see what comes of my involvement with Be Well. I mean,
Yeah,
ultimately, I have no problem being transparent and saying like my goal is to be full time with the bridge,
bridge. Yeah,
and so how that sort of overlaps and when that happens and all that stuff,
right,
we'll see.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna talk about your life off the clock, but before we do that, a transition question. If Apple or Nike called to partner with the bridge, what product would you want to launch first? And if
Mm.
it's not Apple or Nike, you can say this is another organization,
Mhm.
another business.
Yeah, I've recently been taking some online like business management courses so
Yeah.
that I can understand that. And one of the questions was about Nike products, or no, one of the questions was like, what was a product that you saw fail within a company, and why do you think that happened? And
Uh,
to me, I look at Nike as like they're the premier like wearable, like whatever
yeah.
that is, whether it's, jackets, like clothes, cleats, those sort of things.
Yeah.
Um, but when they come up with golf clubs or, I'm a snowboarder, they had snowboarding stuff for a while, but
Oh,
that's such a niche thing that like if you don't have a whole department dedicated to building that stuff, then it's not going to work out. So when Tiger Woods left Nike, like that was it. Like, there's no reason for them to make
Interesting.
golf clubs anymore because the motivation's not there and they're not as high as quality of Titleist or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
going on a rant here, but basically, what I would think about is like, I wouldn't want Nike to put together a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Would not
Right.
want them to touch any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But if they wanted to come up with like streamlining, like maybe, we need better push rim racing gloves.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we need a better product that's easier to acquire. If they wanted to get into that scene,
Yeah.
they could crush it and
Y-
something like
yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's probably what I would look at. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I would wonder like a company like RGK or something like that if they produced a glove or part. I feel like if Nike did something like that, they would need to partner with like a disabled organization.
Yeah, you would hope that they would do that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. I could go on a whole rant on that, is when people do things for the disability community without actually consulting groups that are involved with the disability community.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so many park designs that I've, been, consulted about and talking about. And it's like, yeah, this could have been accessible.
Right.
Like, you're already $6 million into this project.
Right.
And now you're asking me, which I'm so happy that this discussion's on the table now,
Yeah.
but like, let's think ahead a little bit.
Yeah. Right.
And you can make this for everyone, or at least a portion of it.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, I'm sure you've heard this before, but like handicap accessible bathrooms.
Yeah.
How like you have this box that you go into that's, and if you're in that space, you can turn around, but the door's big enough to where you go in the stall and you can't shut the door.
Yeah.
It opens inside to the stall and you can't shut it with your wheelchair in.
Right.
It's like an able-bodied person absolutely designed this. And it's like, is it ADA? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that is ADA or not. But at the same time, like nobody's calling them out for it and
No.
stuff like that. I think that's another cool like maybe business opportunity is to kind of go out like because there's a lot of organizations that do want to be wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but like there's accessible, like ADA accessible, and then there's like accessible.
Right. Right.
Like I think
Where it's like inviting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
where it's like inviting and that can be catered towards, blind and visually impaired as well. And,
Right.
and like just across all disabilities. And I don't think enough of the knowledge of that exists in order to do that.
no,
So,
not at all. And everyone's heart is in the good place. Like, it
Yeah.
always is, but it's like, man, like, why'd you go buy that piece of $10,000 equipment
yeah.
because you were like, we want to be accessible,
Right.
when you don't have anyone to build that program around?
Right.
Why do you want to buy all these hand cycles
Yeah.
when you don't have someone that's running a hand cycle program for
Right,
you, or
yeah.
knows how to use them? So like,
true.
there's stuff in Cincinnati that is in storage that will stay in storage
Yeah.
because someone decided we want to be accessible, but not actually put the work in.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I don't know. I'm sure there's something there that could be drawn up for like accessibility within Cincinnati or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so let's transition to life off the clock.
Yeah.
So who were you as a kid?
I was a nerdy sort of kid,
Mm-hmm.
but I have 4 brothers. So I have 1 older brother and then 3 younger brothers.
Yeah.
My older brothers were all 2.5 years apart until we get down to Mitchell, where he's 6 years after the last
Oh,
one. So
wow.
he was, a happy accident, I guess. But
Yeah.
not expected. But so 4 brothers, they're all awesome. We get along so much now. But I had, as I was growing up, my older brother was super into sports.
Mm.
And so to play any sort of sports, I had to level up and I had to be playing with the guys that were 2.5 years older than me.
Yeah.
Right. And playing when I was in 1st grade, I'm playing with the 3rd graders in my neighborhood because there were no kids my age in my neighborhood. They were all my brother's age, 2 years older.
Yeah.
Each. So that forced me, honestly, to become athletic.
Oh.
Where it was like, okay, well, like, I don't have anyone at my competition level. If I want to actually hang out with these guys, I got to play sports.
Yeah.
And so like, I was not ready to play basketball going into 5th grade, I was not coordinated enough to play, but I
Yeah.
went out every single day and shot and played
Wow.
basketball, dribbled and stuff to where I made the team 5th grade, didn't play at all, but by the time I was 7th, 8th grade, I was starting, one of the best on the team, played
Yeah.
basketball in high school and stuff like that. So, um, I've always absolutely loved sports because of that,
Yeah.
because it motivates you so much. I love being active.
Yeah. Same.
But I was an anxious kid at the same time. So like team sports were tough for me because
Mm.
if I did something wrong, then it would truly shut me down.
Uh,
And that's when I'm looking back, that's like, whoa, I've had anxiety for my whole life.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
manifested a little bit different than what you might expect.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Have you always cared about the disabled community?
That's funny too. Like that I think about this now because I get asked this all the time when like families are like so appreciative of
Yeah.
what I offer and they're like, "How what got you into this? Do you have a brother? Do you have someone?" Like and
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, honestly, like it just sounded cool in college." But looking
Mm.
back, you know, my I had an my aunt who passed away a few years ago. She had childhood cancer
Mm.
and end up with a I believe, um, she was an above knee amputee,
Mm.
but I didn't know that growing up. She always wore pants. I just thought she walked with a limp.
Oh,
And so I
interesting.
didn't even know that.
Huh.
And then, I had a cousin who had muscular dystrophy, but again,
Oh,
these things weren't in the back of my mind as I
yeah.
was choosing my career at all. So
Yeah.
like, uh, no, it just sort of happened and
Yeah.
evolved that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Um, and then, oh, well, so this just brings up a question. This is completely unrelated, but um, knowing a whole bunch of people in wheelchairs and various disabilities, I always like to have this discussion. Like I think I had it with Jake and Mozzie. Would you rather be born with a disability or have it later on in life?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, as an able-bodied person, I don't know how I can actually answer this
True.
accurately. There's probably, if the point of the conversation is you are going to have a disability at
Yes,
some point,
that's it.
there's probably pros and cons of both.
Yeah,
If you have it at birth,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
then
yeah,
that's your life, and
yeah,
you're gonna adapt from day one
yeah,
to figure it out.
yeah,
Um, but if you don't have that, you end up with an injury later on, you can experience the world, the way that it's unfortunately built
yeah,
for, right? It's not
yeah,
built for people with disabilities right
yeah,
now. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
you can experience that way, but then it gets cut out from underneath you.
Yep.
Um, and then you have to start over and you have to rethink your entire life. So I
Yeah.
guess from like a trauma standpoint and all that stuff, it's probably I'd rather be born with it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think myself, I would prefer being born with as a person
Someone,
being
right?
born
Yeah,
with a
exactly.
disability, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but then, like, there's a lot of, like, because of spina bifida, there's a lot of, like, it's a birth effect, and, like, as you grow, that those birth effects kinda start to get shown, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people have had hip replacements
Right.
and stuff like that, and like a lot of shunt surgeries or whatever
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of people who have been in an accident later on in life, they'll say that they'd rather. I think Matt said that he'd rather have his injury than mine or something like that too.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, like having a birth defect, it's luck of of the draw almost, like
Yeah.
how disabled you are and all
Right.
that. Like I'm fortunate enough that I can walk a little bit. I did have a shunt, but it's never been replaced.
Yeah.
I've had my fair share of surgeries, but at the same time, like I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to who you are. Um, how do you balance work, the bridge, be well, and family?
Mm. That's a good question.
And,
It's
and
yeah.
real quick, can you just talk about your family? You have kids, you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
wife.
I have a wife. I've been with her since a long time,
Yeah,
you know. Uh we met in high school, so we
Awesome.
a little bit of off and on in college, but for the most part, we've been together since then.
Okay.
So we're the best of friends, obviously. And then I have two little girls, Mia and JoJo, who are Mia's about to turn 6 in October. JoJo just turned 4, so
Yeah.
we're in the thick of it right
That's
now,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really, the balance of it is a family effort,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I when we have events going on weekends and stuff like that, like I trust my wife to take care of the kids
Yeah.
because I have to be there right now. I'm
Right.
the only one that can tow the trailer. I'm the only one that I have a team that I'm starting to build around me, but at the same time, it's like it's
Yeah.
not like I'm the CEO of a major company that can just say, yeah, let everyone else do the work. I
Sure.
still have to be there. So
Yeah.
it is it's ingrained, so it's not necessarily a balancing act. It's about bringing everything together.
Yeah.
Is like work and life are synonymous, and
Yeah.
like I have to work to provide for my family, but I'm going to do something that I enjoy, and I
Yeah.
need everyone to be on the same team doing
Right.
it with my family. So
Right.
I mean, personally, when I need to relax or I need to blow off steam or something like that, it's right now it's mountain biking.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
absolutely love mountain biking to the
Cool.
point where I have scars and injuries and all this stuff that
Oh no.
people are like, "You're crazy for doing that." I'm like, the only people that don't say I'm crazy are other mountain
Yeah.
bikers
Yeah.
that know the thrill of it all.
Yeah.
Or I'm playing video games with my brothers. That's the other cool thing about having four brothers is, we all get along super well, and some of us have kids. So when the kids go
Yeah.
down, 9:30, we can all hop online and still hang out together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, if I give you one extra free hour every day, how would you spend it?
One extra free hour. It probably would be mountain biking.
Okay.
If I could get to the trails every
Yeah.
day, I would.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you could wake up tomorrow and have one skill or trait you don't have now, what would it be?
Mm. To be honest, nothing to do with my career
Yeah.
path that I'm on. I want to be able to sing because I can play
Oh,
music, I can play guitar and piano, but I just don't like my voice.
interesting.
It's
Okay.
like, oh man.
So you can play piano and you said anything else?
And guitar, yeah.
And guitar. Okay,
Primarily
interesting.
guitar. I grew up I learned to play the piano when I first started playing any instruments, and then, I'm really mad at myself because I let that skill go.
Yeah.
Then picked up guitar later on in my teen years
Yeah.
and really just learned how to play by ear or how to play by looking at like sheet music or look at tabs where I lost the skill of reading notes
Yeah.
and understanding the music theory behind it, which
Yeah.
means going back to piano is really, really hard.
Uh,
Because guitar, you can just pick up and strum if you know the
yeah.
chord progressions and stuff like that.
Right.
For piano, you got to sit down and understand which every sound, every key,
Yeah.
and being able to read sheet music is a skill of its own. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. So we're at 255 right now, or I'm sorry, 157 right now.
Okay,
Can we go another maybe 20 minutes?
sure.
I want to get into like a disability segment
Yeah.
and all that. But first, I need to use the restroom real quick,
Okay,
and then we'll be right back.
sounds good.
Okay. Hello. All right, everybody, we are back. Sorry for the delay. So I before we get into the disabled section, I always like to do like a rapid fire.
Okay,
So it's like I'll ask you a question, you can answer in like a word or a sentence or something like that.
all right.
And I might be a this or that or whatever else. So okay. Favorite adaptive sport to watch?
Skiing.
Okay. By the way, we did that Paralympic watch party. That was so cool.
Dude,
I loved it.
we're gonna try and pull it together for the winter again as well.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I love that. If it was possible to do that for like collegiate sports too or something like that.
Right.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Weirdest grant request you've ever written, if you have one.
Mm. I don't I don't think I've had a weird one
Okay.
yet.
Biggest training fail?
Biggest training fail is in
Like as you're out and about with people, or I'm sure mountain biking,
oh
there's been a
yeah.
few injuries or
Uh one time at Perfect North, we put someone into a fence, and
oh.
it was one of the orange fences, and one of the outriggers got caught on the orange fence, and
Oh.
it was just like pulling out light bulbs in sequence, just like all
Oh
the way
no.
yeah, that wasn't good.
I gotta tell you my Breckenridge story. But okay, so if the bridge had a mascot, who or what would it be?
Oh my gosh, we this, you got to give me grace on this for a second, but we always talk about being the bridge trolls because we're just the trolls under the bridge, but like to call a bunch of people with disabilities trolls is probably not the best idea, and so
Oh
we're
yeah.
like, yeah,
I
we
think
got
people would be lining up to write you grants.
yeah, exactly, right.
Okay, so best part of seeing someone try adaptive sports for the first time.
Just that feeling of that moment of like, oh, I can do this,
Yeah, I
you
love
know.
it. Most random piece of equipment that ended up being a game changer.
Ooh. Uh, ooh, that's a good question.
I would almost say the gaming stuff that you
The
did,
gaming
but
stuff is pretty sweet. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
we've got some weird bikes now too that we've acquired. Like
Okay.
one is um a bike that you can push forward and backwards with your
Yeah.
arms and pedal with your feet.
Mhm.
Um
All right.
yeah.
Next one. One adaptive sport you wish more people knew about?
Bocce.
Bocce. Yeah, that's
I
in the
want to
Paralympics, right?
yeah, that's what's cool about bocce is it's uh for people with more involved disabilities,
Yeah.
and it's really competitive sport, but
Yeah.
like it's another one of those things that's like I could get these kids with level 4 level 5, which that's you don't need to know about that CP
Yeah.
that can play these sports,
CP,
right?
cerebral palsy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that one definitely.
Craziest or most unique volunteer question you've ever gotten from a volunteer?
Mm, I don't have anything off the top of my
I
head.
don't
Yeah,
either. Okay. ChatGPT helped me create these, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'll go with them.
Yeah, why not?
One tool or app you can't do your work without.
um
Cell phone.
yeah, I mean, like if you just in general, just cell phone,
Yeah.
just email.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how I do all the
Mm,
work. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, let's get into our disability section.
Okay.
So, I already asked you why you care so much about this community. But what do you say to some people? What do you say to people who think adaptive sports isn't their issue, and how do you show them it is?
Ooh. Uh, so so one thing that I think you can always put in front of people is like so I heard this comedian the other day with a disability, and he was like, we're what's crazy about the disability community is we're the largest minority group in the country, right?
Uh,
Which is true. He's like, we are also the only minority group you can join at any time.
oh my god!
So he's like, it's just one bad bike accident away from being part of our team. And so I think when you can put it in like there are very few degrees of separation from someone that you know with a disability.
Yeah,
And I think if you can show someone that, like,
yeah,
hey, you may think that they're thriving, but if we could up some of this stuff, if we could change a few things here, get a little bit more money here,
yeah,
then they could be doing so much more. And so I think it's more just tapping into like, I'll be honest, I early on in my career, I made the mistake of almost not necessarily a mistake, but playing like the woe is me card for
uh,
people with disabilities, like
yeah,
millions of people, like the puppies, like the Sarah McLaughlin, like you know people with disabilities can't play sports, and
Yeah.
it's such a struggle, and we feel so bad for them.
Yeah.
And it finally took, I think it was Jake, to basically, not physically, but slap me upside the head and say, like, dude, we also do a lot of badass stuff too.
Yeah.
Right. And so for people to show them, like, hey, this isn't about like always inclusivity and making, this is about giving people a chance to compete and to
Yeah.
be themselves, but like do things at a higher level. And even explaining what the Paralympics actually means, which
Mhm.
is, I think the struggle that some people see is that
It's a Special Olympics, right,
yeah,
Danny?
yes, right. It's the Special Olympics, or it's for paraplegics,
Yeah.
and it's no, para is for parallel.
Yeah.
It's running synonymous. The Paralympics is 2 weeks after the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's all the same events for the most part. It's the highest level athletes doing this sport over here, next to the highest level athletes doing the able-bodied sports over here.
Yeah.
And when you think about it like that, it's like it's just a different, somewhat of a different sport that we're trying to get people to compete in.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, that's interesting, and yeah, you get a lot of times like, oh wow, I'm so proud of you, or
Yeah.
I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but I had a conversation with a buddy yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and he said something like, oh man, like, um, looking at you and what you've accomplished in a wheelchair, it's so cool and blah 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 blah. And it makes me look at my own life and think, okay, I can do it, I can do better. And I'm fine being someone's, let's say, inspiration,
Sure.
right? There's a TED talk called "I'm Not Your Inspiration, Thank You Very Much." I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a lady in a wheelchair. But
Yeah.
but anyway, one of the things that I threw back at him was, hey, listen, like, I I grew up with spina bifida. I'm disabled, but I didn't grow up with my parents divorced, my parents being alcoholic or drug users. I didn't grow up when like having a brother or sibling die, or my parents die early on, or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I push back on them because it's like, listen, like, that's great that you feel that way, but at the same time, like, we all go through our own
Right.
struggles. Even if you are able-bodied, like, sure,
Mm-hmm.
I have a visual indicator of that,
Right.
but it's not something. I look at it as like, and maybe this is one of the reasons why I started the podcast, is like, everybody goes through struggles. Let's learn how to push through them together,
Right.
regardless of what your struggle is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. Do you have anything to say along those lines?
I mean, your struggles are always relative to your own situation,
Yeah.
right? You cannot judge anybody, and that drives me up a wall too.
Yeah.
When like when I have anxiety or I have depression or
Mhm.
anything like that, and you hear people say it's becoming more people are becoming more understanding of that stuff,
Accepting,
but it
yeah.
used to be, hey, suck it up, like,
Yeah.
you don't have any, your life's great, what are you talking about? And
Yeah.
it's like, you don't know that, you don't
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
um and so I always try and think through when when you're going back to talking and understanding what people's interests are and finding that one thing with them
Yeah.
that you're interested in. I think the same thing goes coming into a situation saying, I don't know what they've experienced
Yeah.
and I don't know what has made them the way that they are,
Yeah.
but it's been a cascade of things throughout their entire life that's created their personality. So for me to
100%.
judge on any of that
Yeah.
is not my place. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I love that. So I'm gonna present a few scenarios to you
yeah.
that are just interesting social experiments,
Mhm.
or just interesting from a social standpoint. One I talk about almost every podcast is opening doors,
Yeah.
and it's so interesting. I can open up a door just fine,
Yeah.
whether it has hinges or whatever else, right? But what's fascinating is when I open the door for somebody else who's able-bodied,
Yeah.
the reactions I get. Like,
Mm.
you'll get the, oh, let me reach over you and show you my armpit to
Yeah,
let you
yeah,
through.
smell that, yeah.
Yeah, you'll get they back up against the door and they're like, no, go through, and their feet are in the way because you
Mhm.
can't go through, or they'll just like come up behind you, hold the door, and be like, no, you go through,
Yeah.
and like it's almost rare that you don't get somebody just saying something or doing something awkward in those situations,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me because I love awkward situations. I love
Mhm.
like social abnormities
Yeah.
that are just like interesting. And so I try to make a point, like if I see somebody walking towards the door, like I'll wheel up ahead of them and open the
Just
door
see what happens.
just to see what the reaction is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, why do you think something so small reveals so much about how people act around disability?
Um, I think honestly, it shows a little bit of, lack of maybe confidence or lack
Yeah.
of self-awareness for those people. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that you can't just be yourself and just say thank you for opening that door
Yeah.
says a lot about, like,
Yeah.
what's making you feel so insecure around this person
Right.
that's just slightly different than you?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting thing. I feel like because I hang out with a bunch of chair users all the time, that like
Yeah.
that I don't even think about that stuff
Right.
anymore. It's
Yeah.
like, if you're wheeling up to a door, I'm like, I'll just say like, you got it, like,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and if you hold it for me, sweet, thanks, dude,
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah,
I had somebody who was a parent of one of my friends. We went out and as a group, of course, and I opened the door and he goes, "Thanks. Now you're gonna like." I was like, he was trying to get the door for me, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna do it." And
yeah,
I held my ground, right?
yeah,
He goes, "Thanks. Now you're gonna make me look like an a-hole for not holding the door for you." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of an interesting
maybe,
perspective."
yeah,
Like, who cares, first of all,
yeah.
but second of all, like, oh, that's an interesting perspective that somebody who wants to hold a door open for me might be worried about.
I mean, yeah, it is there. I guess there is that
Yeah,
perception, right?
yeah. So anyway, that's always a scenario that I just wanted to get your
Yeah,
perspective on. Um, the other one, and as I've talked to people in this podcast, this has probably been the most fascinating one for me to talk to Mozzie and Jake and
yeah,
other disabled people. Um, I have always thought with every single able-bodied person, new able-bodied person that I come into contact with, there's an elephant in the room.
yeah.
And that elephant being, I don't know how to act around this person. I
Mhm.
don't know what their capabilities are. Like, I don't know if I should hold the door open
Yeah.
or things like that. And it's interesting. I've done things in my life to accommodate for that. Like, I'm one of those people that will often lead with my disability. Like, this is who I am. It's you asking about my
Yeah.
disability is like you getting to know a piece of who I am.
Mhm.
So ask away. And so I get people more comfortable with just asking general questions. Another one is I love the wheelchair jokes. We've thrown
Yeah.
around a few here
Yeah.
and there, and um that's another reason why how I like get people more comfortable. Like, the first opportunity, I'll say something like, "Oh, that's lamer than my legs," or
Yeah.
some stupid,
Yeah.
just funny joke like that.
Right.
Um, do you think that do you think that elephant in the room exists?
Oh, without a doubt.
Do you think it exists with like most people, most able-bodied people, or
Yeah, I think there's a level of, to be honest, a level of training that comes with that,
yeah,
whether it's a level of, just being around people with disabilities,
yeah,
or you're going through school to learn this type of stuff, which
yeah,
is, it's crazy to think about, but like that's
yeah,
how it is.
yeah,
There's not that, and I'm trying to work on it with my kids, is understanding that everyone is a person.
mm,
It doesn't matter what they present with, like, you just treat them like a person.
yeah,
Um, at the same time, for kids to be curious, that's a valuable thing too.
yeah,
But to not make it awkward,
yeah.
it can be tough at times. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Jake had the perspective. I'm gonna probably butcher it a little
Yeah.
bit, but he had the perspective of like, yeah, there might be an elephant in the room, but I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's interesting because I put it on myself to like get rid of that as fast as possible,
Mhm.
and I'm interested what your take on this is too. Is I think that awareness piece is on disabled people to spread that. Like
Sure.
I think a lot of people will say like, no, you as an able-bodied person, you need to do the work, and it's like for me, it's like why should an able-bodied person care?
Yeah.
Especially if they're not someone who's around it very often, or they don't
Mhm.
have someone in their life who's disabled. Like, sorry, but like as you said, you have kids and a family. Like, prioritize that. Don't necessarily like. And so I put it on the disabled community,
Yeah.
and I'm curious what your thought is on that.
Yeah. I mean, I again, this is one thing that I, hopefully won't have any true perspective on, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm able-bodied, but
But as someone who knows so much about the disabled
yeah,
community, you
yeah,
have a better perspective, a unique
sure,
perspective.
definitely. I mean, I think that your openness to address the elephant in the room is probably valuable for a lot
Mhm.
of people.
Mhm.
I think there's probably some people that are just fed up with able-bodied people, and they're
Yes.
like, "I don't care anymore. I don't want to deal with you.
Mhm.
You're not helpful for me. You're ignorant or anything like that." And I just want to move on with my day. But at some point, uh, one of the pastors at the church I go to, he does a lot of work with the racial relations and things like that, and it stuck with me. It was like 5 or 6 years ago when he gave this talk, but he said something like, um, how can you judge me when you don't understand me?"
Mm.
And in just a matter of like not always putting people in someone else's shoes or someone else's chair, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But just knowing that everyone, what we talked about before, it's your experiences are relative to your struggles are relative to your
Yeah,
experience. And if you can just start with that and have a blank slate, then you
yeah,
can open up the doors for understanding. But without that understanding, then you're not going to move forward anywhere. And I think,
yeah,
unfortunately, with the way that our world works is that you only get that sort of exposure or education if it's directly in front of you,
yeah,
you
it's so
know?
true, yeah,
And so when someone rolls up to you, and I went to an all white Catholic school,
yeah,
right, where
yeah,
no one had a disability
mm,
because it wasn't mandatory for them to have accessible anything,
yeah,
right? It's all new to me when I see people.
yeah,
So, I can understand where you'd be frustrated, like, dude, like,
yeah,
get over yourself.
right,
But at the same time, I think your point of opening up the doors and opening up for discussion is how people
yeah,
learn,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah, I love that. Okay, so you brought up your kids, and another scenario that I like to talk about is I'm in public going, let's say, there's a bunch of people around, and there's a kid who goes, "Mommy, Daddy, look at that."
Yeah.
Oh, and it's they obviously say it loud enough that I can hear or whatever else,
Mhm.
right? And like you know this, but I'll ask, like, what's generally the parent's reaction?
Oh, it's the hush hush,
It's
like,
the
yeah,
hush
yeah,
hush.
"Shh, don't say that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean, for me, uh, like, I know what people with disabilities, what they're capable of and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, like, if one of my girls does that, I'm like, "Yeah, it's a pretty sweet chair, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
check that out. Like, they
Right.
can get around like that? Are you serious? Pretty
Right.
sweet."
Yeah.
So I flip it that way.
Yeah.
I wish there was more opportunity for discussion, or if someone does that, and again, you have to be with the right person. You're
Yeah.
probably the perfect person to where if that happened, that a
Mhm.
parent could go like, "Yeah, like they're in a chair, like this is what he uses to get around. You want to say hi or something like
Yeah.
that,"
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
the parent is like, "Yeah, I get that that's different from what you're used to, but he's just like us."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I take that opportunity, like, before the parent even says something, I'm turned around and I'm going to engage with that
yeah,
kid already.
yeah,
And I have a theory, and I have no idea if this is true or not, but I think you shushing a kid is telling that kid that they shouldn't engage with their curiosity.
Yeah.
And then I think that translates towards later in life, someone tiptoeing around someone who's disabled.
Yeah.
A-
Without a doubt.
And that could translate to I shouldn't even go to talk to them because I don't know how to act.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just I don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment for me.
I
Just
think that's spot on. I think there's it's probably more than a theory at this point. I'm
yeah,
sure there's some research and data that supports that
yeah,
is not allowing kids to experience their full emotions
yeah.
and to be able to develop that understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And one thing Jake said is like, at some point you got to you can't do that or something along those lines. And he says, there's adults who stare, and you look over and then they look away, and Jake's like, you know, if you're caught staring, don't make it awkward. Just at least give
Just
a
give away.
wave
Yeah.
or something like
A
that,
head nod. Yeah.
and then look away. But don't make it awkward by staring. That you make eye contact with the person and then
And look away. Right.
you just look away. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to bring up within this segment is Social Security disability income.
Yeah.
So I turned 18,
Mm-hmm.
and the government. I don't know how necessarily I came across it, but they're like, "Hey, now that you're 18, you're going to college. Do you want Social Security disability?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I want
Yeah.
Social Security disability." And so I was on that for a little bit, and then I became part time at a retail company. I try not to mention where I
Right.
worked,
Right.
but I was part time at a retail company, and they offered me a full time position. And I told my parents, I said, "Mom, Dad, I don't know that I am going to take this full time job because I'm going to make less if I take it because I'm going to lose my Social Security
Mm,
disability, and I'm going to be worse off than I am
yeah.
with working part time and on Social Security disability."
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, I have great parents. My mom said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna cut off all expenses that we have." I think they were paying my car insurance at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe something, another something else. And they're like, "We're gonna cut that off, and then it's not gonna be profitable for you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I took that full time job, and I've never looked back. And
Yeah.
obviously, I'm making a ton more money than I ever would have
Mm-hmm.
staying on Social Security disability, but
Mm-hmm.
I see people all the time. Like a few years back, I got on like this Facebook forum, and it was a disability forum, and a lot of the conversation was, "How do I get off of, or how do I keep Social Security disability and work? Like, what are some strategies you guys use and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that?" And man, like it's like, that's a important question, I suppose, but like it it I don't think those people realize how much they're holding themselves back
Right.
from doing that.
Right.
And so I was curious, do you have any have you had those conversations with people in wheelchairs or anything like that, or what's your perspective on it if you have one? Or
I honestly haven't really thought about it,
Mhm,
until you bring it up right now. Yeah, I mean, you can take advantage of any system, right?
mhm.
Like there's a loophole, and people are always going to find a way around it.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the powers of adaptive sports is that there's research that supports that if
100%.
you're involved in adaptive sports, you're more likely to be employed.
Yeah.
Um, really, for me, what I struggle personally with like understanding finances and stuff because I've never had any training in any of that.
Mhm.
Most people haven't, but even when like you're going through my schooling, it's all medical. So
Yeah.
there's nothing. So you get out and you're like, wait, what's a budget and how do I manage this and all this stuff?
Yeah.
And so what's cool with the bridge is I connected with a financial advisor that only works with people with disabilities.
Oh.
And so she is going to do a couple seminars for us in November and December where we can invite both individuals with disabilities, but
Mhm.
then another session for their caregivers for like legacy planning and stuff like that. And set that stuff up so that you can understand all the things that are out there, the pros and cons to all this stuff. So again, it's hard for me to speak on this because
Yeah.
I'm not in that position, but
Mhm.
I just want people to understand what options are out there and
Yeah.
what's possible for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that, hey, if you're on Social Security disability, that's a bad thing,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm sure someone watching this might think that, and I think I think the general sentiment is if you need it, then
Then
great,
yes, exactly.
but I think there's a lot of people out there that cut themselves short. Like,
Right.
man, I can't imagine what I'd be doing if it wasn't for my parents telling me that and having that difficult
Yeah.
conversation. Like,
Yeah.
and so I love that. By the way, I like if you need extra help with those seminars, like
Mhm.
with my experience, I think I could
Sure.
potentially help there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's an interesting another interesting thing that I'd like to see. I wish there was an incentive program like,
Mhm.
hey, we'll actually increase your social security disability or something, or keep it the same for XYZ amount of time after you've surpassed the limit that we give you, and that way it'll incentivize more people to actually take that leap and
Mhm.
then get used to getting off of it and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know if that's the best solution, but that's just, one of the solutions
There's
that I
gotta
have
be
for it.
something, right? Yeah. There's gotta be a better solution.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot there. Okay. I think the last question, and you kind of touched on this, but what's one adaptive activity that you absolutely want to see created?
Hmm.
Like you said, bocce, as far as like you
Yeah.
want people to be
And
more
like track and field
know
and
more about
stuff.
it, and
Yeah.
track and field, and like is there any need out there that you see that's like hasn't been converted?
Yeah, there's one that I've thought about, and I teach at UC 10 DPT students that come out to your practice all the time. So the doctor of physical therapy students, and we do an adaptive sports class where the whole year they're learning about adaptive sports, attending
Yeah,
stuff, but then they plan something at the end of the year, like plan a big event
yeah,
and see that through.
cool.
And one thing that I've always thought about is creating a cerebral palsy football league, like a
Mm.
flag football league with maybe some adaptations for like a Velcro, like ball, glove,
Mm.
or situation, something like that. But I have so many kids post brain injury with CP that are like, we want to play football. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like in terms of coddling, I'm going to be the healthcare provider that just says, no, you cannot ram your head into someone else when you've had a brain injury.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's one thing that I've always kind of had in the back of my mind. At some point, I'll do it and
Yeah,
make it happen. And
I
because
like
I
it.
think you can model it right after what the cerebral palsy soccer
Yeah,
program is, which
yeah.
is kids that are walking with minimal assistive
Mm,
device. So usually not a walker. They're you just have braces on or
mm.
have hemiparesis. One side of their body doesn't work as well the other.
So
So
this would be standing,
this
not
would be a
wheelchair.
standing, yeah,
Uh,
because yeah, that's a spot where it's like I want to give those kids that chance to experience competition in football, but I
yeah,
can't have you ramming your heads into other
right.
people. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I've seen adaptations where like if the ball gets thrown, you can just get your hand on
Yeah.
it if you can't catch or
Yeah.
something like that. So
Yeah.
cool. Anything else on disability or anything like that you want to bring up? Any questions that like
Mm.
thought-provoking questions or anything like that?
Um I mean, after talking about all this stuff, like, what is one thing that you want to convey to the able-bodied community about your community or even yourself?
Mm.
Like, if you could say one thing about it, like, this is what I want you to understand.
Um Something we've already talked about
Yeah,
is don't coddle.
yeah, yeah,
I think from someone contributing to society, someone creating a family, someone being independent, the coddling is what hurts the most.
Mhm.
Like it's so, especially for kids, you start to coddle them, and that's ingrained in into their head that, oh, maybe I need help with this,
Yeah.
maybe, and that halts their development.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think, one of the challenges with that, though, and something Jake mentioned in the podcast with him was, you know, everybody in a wheelchair to an able-bodied person looks the same.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is, like, you don't know if they're a quad. You
Yeah.
don't know if they can walk. You don't know what their capability is. And so, like, a one size fits all for, like, the doors question
Yeah.
is just open doors for everybody.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's the safe way of doing it, right? Which, in an interaction like that with a complete stranger, like, I agree with that, like, to an extent, right? Like, it's like, yeah, all right, you're just being a nice human being, and you don't know any other way,
Mhm.
right? And you're not going to be like, hey, what's your disability? Should I let you do this? Should I not?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. So, but I I think there's a lot of helicopter parents out there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's even more so for disabled people. Like, it's funny to me. I always make the joke of, um what more can happen? They're already disabled,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, so why are you being so protective? Like,
Mhm.
like, stop.
Yeah.
Let them go, let them flourish, and I think that's one of the hardest things for a parent to do
Yeah.
is, that's their baby, and they want the best for them, but
Yep.
really the best for them isn't coddling them. The best for them is pushing them beyond the, like, to the point of tears, even in some cases,
Yeah.
to where they have to do it or they can't.
Yeah.
And you won't help them, right?
Mhm.
Like, obviously you don't want to start there, right? But at the same point, like, it's like, just keep
Yeah.
pushing them to do more beyond their capability, and that leads to the other one is don't assume,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to assume that, like, and again, the stories that we've told is like, whoa, like, I didn't realize that person could do that, and
Mhm.
and that's because we had our own preconceived notions of disability, and
Right.
and who that person is and what their capabilities are and stuff like that, and it's really opened my eyes to that. So
Mhm.
anyway, a-
Nice.
any other questions or anything else to
No,
add
that's
to
it.
that?
That's it.
Awesome. Okay, so we are nearing the end. A few more things. What's one thing you hope sticks with people today after hearing you?
Mm, that there's opportunity for anyone and everyone,
Yeah,
and it's just about just going after it and getting involved.
love it.
Yeah.
Where can people follow you?
I'm not active on my own personal social media, so follow the Bridge Adaptive. So at the Bridge Adaptive, whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn,
Okay,
hop on there and
the
then sign up for our newsletter.
cool. Those three.
I think so.
And what's the bridge website again?
Thebridgeadaptive.org.
Okay, awesome. Uh, any any other things that you want to shout out from a social media standpoint, or where people can find you? Is there a Be Well?
I mean, you can search Be Well. I would suggest searching Cincinnati Children's Be Well, and that
Okay,
should pop up on a. It's hard to find, but then you can go on there and then fill out the form to get added to the newsletter.
cool.
I would recommend just anybody signing up for any of these newsletters.
Yeah,
Just see what's in front of you, see
yeah,
what's happening, and again, it's all free. So if you try it and
yep,
you're there for 5 minutes and say this isn't for me, I'm just glad you're there and you
yeah.
gave it a chance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different activities that people can get involved with, whether volunteering,
hmm
donating, or playing.
for
So,
sure.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I learned so much from with the bridge, and I hope somebody will see this and maybe reach out, or
Yeah, definitely.
they'll get some traction, whether it be volunteering, playing, or donating. It's been fascinating to sit down with you and talk to you. Any concluding thoughts?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me
Yeah.
on. This is awesome. This
Yeah.
was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, it sure was. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining the Rolling Forward podcast. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. I want to hear what keeps you rolling forward. My next T-shirt idea, or something today that stuck with you. I'm for it all. And if you want to see more shirts like the one I'm wearing, Rolling Forward podcast logo, you can find my designs over at rollingforward.printful.me. And if you've got a story worth sharing and it fits the theme of what we're doing here today, I'd love for you to reach out to me. You might be my next podcast guest. Until next time, keep rolling forward. Thanks, everybody.